work and school, come unwind with Jamaica's #1 youth radio show.
We're bringing you entertainment, fun facts, and staying true to youth development and advocacy.
Catch the action each and every Saturday as we roll out buzzy segments. What say you?
Youth for chat,
Life skills,
Global Connect,
and Bust the Youth.
That's the Talk Up Youth radio show, Saturdays 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM.
Talk Up Youth, Miss Effie.
Talk Up Youth. Don't miss it.
It's hard-hitting. It's riveting. It's the much-talked-about cover story during Nationwide at 5. Here Cliff Hughes get to the heart of the story of the day. Cover Story aired 5:30 weekdays during Nationwide at 5. Nationwide at 5. Talk radio at its best. Cover Story.
Cover Story is brought to you by JTA Credit Union, serving our members, impacting lives.
Ready to tackle that building project? Start right. Start here at H&L Rapid True Value for building supplies. The time by H&L Rapid True Value is
Nationwide time, 5 o'clock.
Anytime, anywhere. NCDA, sure we care. 1-888-639-5433. Call the line. Come talk to me.
The temperature, brought to you by the National Council on Drug Abuse, is
28 degrees Celsius in Kingston and Montego Bay.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robeanne Williams.
In Nationwide News at this hour, former Prime Minister Bruce Golding warns that Donald Trump's damage to the global community will be difficult to repair.
The world is now under the thumb of a megalomaniac, and that is something that could disrupt the world in such a way that could take us generations to repair.
The police are denying they fired the bullets that killed the 4-year-old child in Granville, St. James.
My men put their lives on the line in the heights of a gunfight to get that child to the hospital, using their bodies as shield.
Noel Maitland to know on Friday whether he has a case to answer in the murder of his girlfriend, Donnelly Donaldson.
Clerk to the Houses of Parliament accuses Gleaner of defaming her. She's demanding corrective actions.
The Chief Justice is calling for special courts for gang trials.
In news from the rest of the world, gang violence forces medical non-profit group to suspend services at Haiti clinic.
The U.S. Senate has rejected Trump's military threats against Venezuela with war powers vote.
In sports, Manning Cup winners Excelsior are crowned All-Ireland Schoolboy Football champions.
And later in our broadcast, in the cover story at 5:35, former Prime Minister Bruce Golding has launched a broadside against U.S. President Donald Trump. He's warned Trump's damage will be difficult to repair. Is he right? Associate Professor of Political Science and Policy Studies at Elon University, Dr. Damien Blake, and Senior Reporter Producer at Guardian Media, Darcy Polo, will weigh in.
In Public Opinion at 6:26, we ask, do you share Bruce Golding's assertion that Trump is a threat to global stability? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio, and message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide 90FM.
At 7, a woman was shot and killed by a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officer in Minneapolis on Wednesday. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance has blamed her for her own death. We'll get perspectives on Trump's immigration crackdown from Managing Director of Caribbean Immigrant Services, Erwin Clare, and retired Provost at John Jay College of Criminal Justice, Professor Basil Wilson.
And at 8, it's Jamaican Dads with Dennis Brooks, Garth Williams, Marlon Campbell, and Floyd Green.
All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile Nationwide 90 FM, RevaNews.ai, and on the Reva News app, available on the Google Play and the App Store. This Thursday afternoon, Thursday, January 8, 2026.
The hour is brought to you by KFC's Festive Feast. Share the love this season with the new KFC Festive 9 Bucket for $4,500. Proceeds from every Festive Feast purchase goes towards hurricane relief. KFC, it's finger licking good.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
And now to the details. Former Prime Minister Bruce Golding says the foreign policy damage being done by United States President Donald Trump could take years, if not generations, to repair. He made the remark as he deepened his criticism of Trump's conduct of U.S. foreign affairs. The former Prime Minister also cautioned world leaders against allowing fear to silence their voices. Shalois Michael has that story.
In a blistering opinion piece issued to the media early Thursday morning, the former Jamaican Prime Minister strongly criticized the sitting U.S. president. Speaking on Cliff Hughes Online a few hours later, Bruce Golding went further. He accused the American leader of attempting to reconstruct the world to his liking. Golding says if successful, Trump's actions could take years to repair.
We are in dangerous times because the world is now under the thumb of a megalomaniac who is determined to reshape the world in his own image, and that is deeply troubling. And that is something that could disrupt the world in such a way that could take us generations to repair.
According to Golding, Trump's abuse of power is the worst the Caribbean region has faced in decades. In acknowledging the silence of CARICOM, Jamaica's 8th Prime Minister conceded that no sitting head of government could have taken such a hard-line approach to Trump. Still, Golding is urging former heads of government across the globe not to allow fear to silence them.
This is where I'm so disappointed. There are times that the world has to stand up and say, no. Up to now, the world has not been prepared to do that because the United States is so dominant in terms of the global economy, military might, that even major European countries are afraid to confront him because they know that he could tomorrow issue an executive order that could seriously damage their economies and seriously affect their people. In my view, we cannot allow that to somehow resist the truth of what is happening. I believe that persons like me, having served as heads of government, need to take up that role and say, hey, this is not the way the world needs to go.
According to Golding, America is not as spotless as its president portrays it to be. He believes Trump's decision to attack Venezuela and his subsequent threats to other countries is a distraction from the crises plaguing the alleged home of the brave.
It seems to me that America is coming to terms with the reality that Trump is not the good deal that they thought he was. I don't dismiss the possibility that the activities in Venezuela and the capture of Maduro was influenced to some extent by a desire to distract people from the problems of the rising prices that they face at the grocery shops and higher housing costs and so on. Whether that is so, I'm just hoping that the vote that they cast will result in the election of someone who will try to undo the damage that Trump has done.
Shalois Michael for Nationwide News.
The Jamaica Constabulary Force JCF is asserting that the death of 4-year-old Romaine Bowman in Granville, St. James is not being investigated as a police killing. Little Romaine was killed during an alleged shootout between police and gunmen in St. James on New Year's Day. But the police are denying they fired the fatal shot. Mahiri Stewart reports.
The 4-year-old was reportedly shot in the back shortly after midnight during an alleged shootout. The police say they were responding to reports of an illegal gun salute in the community. 2 of the alleged gunmen were shot and killed. An AK-47 rifle was also seized. The incident triggered a protest in Granville as residents blamed a soldier for the child's death. Since then, media reports have listed the 4-year-old as one of the 14 people killed by the police since the start of the year. The JCF says this reporting is false. In a statement on Thursday, the police say including Romaine as a police shooting victim is inaccurate and unsupported by facts. The force says the matter is the subject of a homicide investigation aimed at determining the source of the fatal injury and the weapon involved. According to the JCF, no determination has been made that the child was killed by a policeman's weapon. The force adds that no such conclusion has been advanced by the police, residents of the community, or any other credible source. The JCF says the child's mother has also publicly commended the police who were involved in the operation. The force is raising concern regarding what they say is the false or premature attribution of responsibility to the police. It says inaccurate reporting by the media undermines public trust in the force. As a result, the JCF says it has a duty to challenge inaccuracies damaging its integrity. It's urging journalists to exercise the highest standards of accuracy, balance, and verification, particularly in matters involving death, minors, and ongoing investigations. Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, the commanding officer for the St. James Police Division, SSP Aaron Samuels, says the police attempted to shield the 4-year-old during the gunfight in Granville.
I've been a woman who put their lives on the line every day, and that particular night, my men put their lives on the line in the heights of a gunfight to get that child to the hospital, using their bodies as shield to the mother and child. So it's very emotional for us. Yes. So we don't take it lightly in terms of what transpired. And we continue to offer psychosocial support to the family, and that will continue.
SSP Aaron Samuels, the commanding officer for St. James, he was speaking at Thursday's monthly meeting of the St. James Municipal Corporation.
A police constable has been sentenced to 30 days in prison or pay $350,000 for failing to cooperate with a probe being conducted by the Independent Commission of Investigations, INDECOM. Constable Onardo Walker was sentenced on Wednesday. He was charged with breaching the INDECOM Act. This as Walker failed to comply with a lawful requirement of the Commission. On November 25 last year, Constable Walker pleaded guilty to the offense for which he was charged. INDECOM began an investigation into an alleged assault which occurred on July 28, 2018 in Lawrence Tavern, St. Andrew. During the investigation, Constable Walker was identified as one of the first responders on the scene. He was served with a notice by INDECOM to provide a statement to the Commission. But despite numerous requests, Constable Walker failed to comply. He was first placed before the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Court on February 23, 2021, following an investigation by INDECOM and a ruling from the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions.
Constable Noel Maitland is expected to learn on Friday whether he has a case to answer for the murder and disappearance of his girlfriend, social media influencer Donnelly Donaldson. Presiding Justice Leighton Pusey is expected to rule on the no-case submission made by Maitland's attorneys. Maitland is on trial in the Supreme Court for the 2022 murder of Donaldson. He's also charged with the unlawful burial of her body, which has never been found. Robin Williams reports.
Attorneys for Noel Maitland made a no-case submission on Thursday after the prosecution closed its case in December. A no-case submission is a legal application in which the defense argues that the prosecution has failed to present sufficient evidence on which a jury can convict. It's when the defense asks the court to dismiss the charges without requiring any other evidence to support its position. The proceedings were held in the absence of the jury, meaning the media is prohibited from reporting on the arguments advanced by the defense or the prosecution's response. But the prosecution's case is largely circumstantial. During the trial, which began in May, the prosecution called 36 witnesses. Evidence presented included testimony from a government forensic analyst who told the court that blood traces found on items seized from Maitland's New Kingston apartment matched Donaldson's DNA profile. The defense has raised the possibility that the DNA could have been transferred through ordinary contact. The defense also questioned whether the DNA could have been blood from menstruation. Donaldson was reportedly picked up from her mother's St. Andrew home by Maitland on the night of July 11, 2022. In a statement to police dated July 15, 2022, Maitland said Donaldson left his Chelsea Manor apartment on the afternoon of July 12 following an argument related to the mother of his child. The trial is being heard by a 7-member jury. Robeanne Williams for Nationwide News.
The clerk to the Houses of Parliament, Colleen Lowe, has threatened to sue the Jamaica Gleaner unless corrective action is taken over an article published in the Sunday edition of the paper. In a letter dispatched on Thursday, the clerk accuses the Gleaner of defaming her by conveying false and damaging allegations about her conduct in relation to procurement and financial administration at the Parliament. Lowe claims the Gleaner falsely suggests she knowingly instructed public officers to breach procurement and financial governance laws and abuse her authority by coercing staff to act illegally. According to the clerk, those allegations are false in fact, unsupported by documents, and incapable of justification. She argues the publication has caused serious harm to her reputation and professional standing as a constitutional office holder in the country. The letter also accuses the Gleaner of failing to fairly report her response to questions about a special audit report. She alleges the newspaper omitted explanations that audit matters are being addressed through internal statutory and governance processes and that public comment is legally constrained. The clerk is demanding multiple corrections and clarifications be published. She's given the Gleaner 72 hours to respond. The letter warns that failure to do so could result in legal action without further notice to the paper. The Gleaner has not publicly responded to the letter. You're listening to the news on Nationwide at 5. We'll have more after these.
See twice the style for less at IQ Optical. Buy one pair of glasses and get your second and third pair half price. Don't miss out. Call 876-929-7732 or visit IQ Optical today, where clarity never looked sharper.
The time by IQ Optical is...
It's 15 minutes after 5.
Termites, rodents, or birds infesting your home or office? Call Rentokil Initial, the pest expert, at 876-926-4236 for a free pest assessment island-wide. The temperature brought to you by Rentokil Initial is
28 degrees Celsius in Kingston and Montego Bay. Continuing the news, Chief Justice Brian Sykes is calling for significant reforms to the country's trial court system. The courts, known as circuits, currently operate on a rotating basis across each parish. But the country's most senior judge says the system has become inefficient.
Apart from Kingston and St. Andrew and Montego Bay, every other court has 4 weeks per term. So September to December, 4 weeks. January to Easter, 4 weeks. Post-Easter to the summer, 4 weeks. So that's 12 weeks. So it's 5 days. So that's what? 4, 5, 20. That's 60 days per year. And in that now, the judge is expected to be preparing cases for trial, trying cases, sentencing, and all of that. So that activity cannot, dealing with bail applications too, that cannot take place efficiently and effectively anymore. And so what is needed is a rethink of how we manage those rural circuits.
Last year, chair of the Criminal Practice Committee at the Jamaica Bar Association, Anne-Marie Furtado Richards, had also called for a reform of the circuit system. At the time, she noted that scheduling issues, insufficient number of judges and prosecutors, and inadequate infrastructure were hampering the functioning of the circuit courts. Justice Sykes agrees. He says the number of cases being tried has significantly expanded beyond the existing capacity. He is proposing the establishment of trial centers to improve circuit court efficiency.
One solution is to have a major trial center where you abolish the circuit system and have the cases coming, that means an expansion of the judiciary. But rather than have persons wait for the next circuit, you could have a major trial center, for example, in Montego Bay. The same way you have the Western Regional Gun Court, so a major trial center in Montego Bay, and then taking the cases from, say, Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James. So it's that casting stone, but what is clear is that the current circuit system cannot cope anymore. Not that it was inherently bad, but I think it has gone as far as it can.
Chief Justice Brian Sykes.
Meanwhile, Justice Sykes says consideration should be given to establishing courts dedicated to hosting gang trials.
Those cases have their own challenges. They tend to be huge in number, and the witnesses oftentimes are giving evidence from a remote location, and they tend to have a lot of hitches sometimes that go along with that. And so, yes, I agree with you that they need their own dedicated courtroom so that all the security arrangements can be in place. The flow of persons through the court can be managed effectively. and so create a safer environment and minimize the risk of some harm or deleterious event happening.
This follows a more aggressive push to dismantle gangs and bring alleged members before the courts. The most recent case involves reputed gang leader Tesha Miller. More than 20 alleged gangsters have been charged in that matter.
Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness is calling on the church to help the government to effectively combat violence in the society. Prime Minister Holness made the call while speaking at the National Day of Prayer service in Portmore on Wednesday.
These are things now, the social violence, that we're going to need the help of the church now, not just in prayers, but in action. From the pulpit, preach the rejection of violence as a means of resolving conflict. The church and other entities must now be able to see very quickly when a situation could escalate to violence and intervene very quickly.
The Prime Minister's comments follow last year's 42% reduction in murders. During his message to the congregation, he decried the number of young persons, particularly men, who are both the perpetrators and victims of crime. Dr. Holness called on the church to do more to direct young people away from criminality.
But also by diversion, because there are many youngsters in communities, and it is only because the gang reach out to them and not the church choir why they are in the gang and not the church choir. So we are going to now need the army of the church to pull in those youngsters and divert them away from the gangs and the criminal activity, because that is how we are going to truly attain peace in the country. Peace doesn't mean the absence of conflict, What it means is that we are able to resolve conflict without violence.
Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness.
World in a Minute is brought to you by Hose Assembly and Supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
In regional news, humanitarian group Doctors Without Borders says it's suspending services at a clinic in a violent Haitian neighborhood. It follows ongoing clashes between police and armed groups in the war-torn country. The announcement is a blow to the community where the group operated, as it offered the only medical services available in that area of Port-au-Prince. Doctors Without Borders served thousands of patients each month. But the group says violent clashes between police and armed men trapped 7 community volunteers at the clinic for several hours this week. One former volunteer was seriously injured and died at the building's gate. It's the second time the group has been forced to suspend services in the country.
The Senate advanced a resolution on Thursday that would limit President Donald Trump's ability to conduct further attacks against Venezuela. The vote highlights a note of disapproval for Trump's expanding ambitions in the Western Hemisphere. Democrats and 5 Republicans voted to advance the War Powers resolution on a 52-47 vote and ensure a vote next week on final passage. It has virtually no chance of becoming law, as Trump would have to sign if it were to pass the Republican-controlled House. Still, it's a significant gesture that showed unease among some Republicans after the U.S. military seized Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro. Trump reacted to the Senate's vote on social media, saying they should never be elected to office again. He adds that the vote greatly hampers American self-defense and national security.
World in a Minute was brought to you by Hose Assembly and Supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour, former Prime Minister Bruce Golding warns that Trump's damage to the global community will be difficult to repair.
The world is now under the thumb of a megalomaniac, and that is something that could disrupt the world in such a way that could take us generations to repair.
The police are denying they fired the bullets that killed the 4-year-old child in Granville, St. James.
Noel Maitland to know on Friday whether he has a case to answer in the murder of Donnelly Donaldson.
Clerk to the Houses of Parliament accuses Gleaner of defaming her. She's demanding corrective actions.
I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robianne Williams.
You can find the news on our website at rivernews.ai and on the River News app, available on the Google Play and the App Store. News next. The headlines at 6.
Commercial spaces for you. Parks and attractions for you. Housing and residential developments for you. Beautiful rental properties for you. Improving quality of life through infrastructure development across Jamaica for you. The Urban Development Corporation, making development happen for you. Brought to you by the Urban Development Corporation.
UDC for you. It's hard-hitting. It's riveting. It's the much-talked-about cover story during Nationwide at 5. Here Cliff Hughes get to the heart of the story of the day. Cover Story aired 5:30 weekdays during Nationwide at 5. Nationwide at 5. Talk radio at its best. Cover Story.
Cover Story is brought to you by JTA Credit Union, serving our members, impacting lives positively.
Multilink, roll with control. Use Multilink, safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. Manning Cup champions Excelsior High School were a short time ago crowned All-Ireland Schoolboy football champions after beating the Costa Cup kingpin St. Elizabeth Technical by 2-0 in the Issa Olivia Shield playoff at Stadium East. Captain Terence Williams, as you're looking at there, he gave Excelsior the lead on 10 minutes when he converted from the spot. The game was made safe with 3 minutes remaining. Thanks to Kevon Summon, who scored in the 87th minute. Excelsior was winning their first Olivia Shield title in 22 years. Leaders Arsenal and champions Liverpool, they played out a test in 0-0 draw in the English Premier League a short while ago at the Emirates Stadium in London. The result means that Arsenal, they remain 6 points clear of joint second place teams Aston Villa and Manchester City, while Liverpool, they're still fourth, 14 points behind Arsenal. There will be no Racers Grand Prix meeting in 2026. The meeting, which has World Athletics Continental Tour Silver designation, has been cancelled for this year. Organizers say they were forced to pull the plug on what would have been the 8th staging of the meet because they're unable to adequately fund the event. The Racers Grand Prix has been a staple on the local athletics calendar, pulling in some of the world's leading stars, the likes of Olympic and World Championship medalists Noah Lyles, Keshane Thompson, Oblique Seville, Brian Lavelle, and former World 400 meters champion Antonio Watson. The government of Jamaica, through the Ministry of Sport, have been long-time backers of the Racers Grand Prix, with the largest part of the financing coming from global sports goods manufacturers Adidas, who still have 2 years to run on the current deal with the Racers sponsorship. Meanwhile, organizers of the Western Relays have also pulled the plug on the 2026 staging due to uncertainty over the availability of the GC Foster College track. The meet was scheduled for February 14, and that's Valentine's Day. However, the track at GC Foster is to be resurfaced, but there's no confirmed start date, and that has put the organizers in a state of uncertainty. The Western Relays have been staged outside of Western Jamaica for the last 7 years, as the Montego Bay Sports Complex is still unavailable. The surface needs to be repaired. Rudolph Speed, the interim head coach of the Jamaica National Senior Football men's team, says his technical staff, they're currently looking at a 60-man provisional squad to form the nucleus of the squad that will make one last-ditch effort to qualify Jamaica for the FIFA World Cup later this year. The team will travel to Mexico in March to face Southwest Pacific island nation New Caledonia on March 26 in Monterrey, and the winner will set up a showdown with the Democratic Republic of Congo 5 days later for a place at the World Cup. And Speed says it's paramount at this stage that he gets his best players.
January 15, we have a deadline to get our 60-man squad for the World Cup. In March 26, we play New Caledonia, FIFA International Playoffs. We need to beat them and then face DR Congo on March 31st. We win that game and qualify for the 2026. So far, we have looked at 52 names and we're working on the remaining 8. I mean, 52 is still not concrete, it can change. We have these players, observing them, watching them performance week in, week out, and every analyze every single day by technical staff.
Speed will only have his full squad available to him 4 days before the showdown with New Caledonia, but he says it's not a bother.
Well, in modern football, you have to play what you get. We have the players the 22nd of March, all the players are available. So what we have done already is to sit down and work from the day when we hope to qualify, right back to now what we have to do. So we can't cry about the time. Just have to work with the time and do our best effort, and that's what we practice. We're not worried about that. We also know that if we get quality players, we make life easier. And that's what we're about.
That's Rudolph Speed, interim head coach of the Jamaica national football team. And finally, David Layla, who is assistant coach of Premier League champions Cavalier, says he believes he has enough time to turn around the fortunes of the club. They are currently 5th in the standings. They are 7 points adrift of leaders Montego Bay United. So far, they've lost 6 games from 14 played in the competition. But he says it's a young squad and they've got time to do it.
Still early days yet, we believe. We still have some young players looking at, so at the end of the day, we're still building. And these young players, they'll show themselves for the most part. And so for us, it's just a work in progress with these youngsters. Eventually, they'll get it and we'll move on to greater things.
And the January transfer window is now open, but Layla says Cavalier will not be dipping in it.
But we're not looking at much because we have the youngsters them to look at, really. So we'll just keep looking at them, keep improving them, and eventually they'll find their footing. And when you're going through different changes, you're going to figure out what will work and what won't work.
That's David Layla. We did say finally, but we've got one more to give you. Minister of Sports Olivia Grain says the planned upgrade of the National Stadium and Stadium East facilities will significantly enhance Jamaica's ability to host major regional and international sporting competitions. Speaking on Wednesday at the offices of the Jamaica Administrative Athletics Association, J3A, Minister Grains announced a change in the project timeline. The timeline has been changed 1 year. It's been pushed back a year for the start of construction. Last year, Minister told us, last year, Minister told us that the construction was scheduled to start in August, and it would have lasted 3 years. Now it will start in July of 2027, considering the Jamaica women's football team will also have World Cup games at the stadium and a race against time, I would imagine. The minister was unable, though, to say when is going to be the cutoff time for that. And while ground was originally scheduled to be broken, as I mentioned, in 2025, we've been pushed back. And as part of the redevelopment, the National Stadium will receive 10,000 additional seats and will bring the facility up now to 50,000. It will make it officially the biggest stadium in the Caribbean and the most modern as well. All right, we've got to cut it there. We've got our main sportscast coming up at 6:05 this evening. You'll hear lots more in sports from that.
For all your custom framing, printing, graphic design, and purchase of art, Make It Frame Art Jamaica Limited, serving you for over 40 years. The time by Frame Art Jamaica is
5:32.
Need to make a change to your title or need a title? Geoland Title Limited is the place to be. They do lost title application, add and remove names from titles, wills, estates, first-time registration, land surveys included, affordable rates and flexible payment options, National Land Agency adjudication and land titling waivers available. They have 8 locations island-wide. Call 876-754-6436 or visit their website at geolandonline.com. Geoland Title Limited. Secure your land, secure your title.
Exciting news!
news! The Design Studio Nationwide 90 FM just got a whole lot bigger. Join us this and every Saturday now from 1 to 3 p.m. for an exclusive show that elevates your home, mind, and soul. Discover the latest interior design trends to create your dream sanctuary. Unlock your true potential with personal growth strategies. Nourish your body and spirit with expert wellness tips. Don't miss out on the inspiration you need to live your best life. Tune in to the Design Studio this and every Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m. and take the first step towards a more fulfilling you.
Make me sweat, make me harder. It's Monday, get over your blues. Or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. The E-Zone is here for you. With the Stinger Honeybee
and Karim Boyatings
from 3 to 5 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM.
We've got your entertainment news.
Then we want to hear your views. Why you say?
Jump in the mix.
Or the hot seat.
Don't miss our brain busters.
Or the crazy giveaways.
Let's talk fashion.
Send us your outfit of the day. Ooh, cutesy. Very demure.
Are you looking for love?
Come on one of our blind dates. Send your request to ezoneblindates@gmail.com. That's ezoneblindates@gmail.com.
And stay tuned for your confessions.
These are my confessions. Share them with us at ezoneconfessions@yahoo.com. I mean, is this planet Earth?
Is it?
I don't know. Let me check. Either way, it's got a buzz.
And a bugger thing.
Ow! Ow!
Come into the parlor, there's a welcome there for you.
Welcome to the Mayor's Parlor with Desmond McKenzie.
From 1 to 6 p.m. every Sunday, you'll now get more of your favorite vintage music.
Put your head on my shoulder.
Nationwide 90 FM will transform your Sunday into a musical time machine that will take you way back.
Come with me. Let's go back in time.
This magic moment.
Journey into yesteryear with Desmond McKenzie in the Mayor's Parlor.
I've got the music to jog your memory and make you smile.
Put your sweet lips a little closer to the phone.
Sit back, relax, and enjoy the best in vintage music.
Come into the Mayor's Parlor every Sunday between 1 and 6 p.m. here on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's Word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis. Weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of the Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
As a parent, you give your children a good start in life. You nurture, protect, and guide them. Parenting is a process that prepares your child for independence. As your child grows and develops, there are many things you can do to help your child. Stay tuned to The Big Show, Nationwide this morning, for parenting tips. Fridays at 6:53 a.m. Only here will you learn everything you need to know about parenting. Tips to help parents navigate the incredibly challenging and rewarding journey of child rearing. Parenting tips on Nationwide at 90 FM, the revolution in media.
Not a mercy.
This one is very classic, dedicated to all the schoolers who are taking beats.
If you've ever struggled to pass an exam, then you'll know that students today are under great pressure to get good grades and secure qualification needed to move on to higher education. The problem is that too many students are struggling alone and could really benefit from connecting with hardworking teachers and other bright students in other parts of the country and the region. Join me, Dennis Brooks, this and every Friday evening from 8 to 9, with a repeat on Saturday morning from 8 to 9. For the A-Team, a study group on radio, my team of teachers, students, and experts will break down the syllabus, giving you information, tips, and past paper questions that will help you get top grades in your upcoming exams. Follow us on Facebook Live and on Twitter and be a part of the community. It's the A-Team, Fridays at 8 p.m. with a repeat at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. It's your free extra class on radio and social media. And it's right here on Nationwide 90 FM, the revolution in media.
Do you have a consumer-related issue? Want to learn more about matters concerning you as a consumer? Well, keep it locked to Nationwide 90 FM for the Consumer Hour with me, Nora Gay Banton, weekdays from 9 to 10 a.m. For all your consumer-centric matters, stay tuned to the Consumer Hour on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media.
Good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us here on Nationwide at 5. It's time for the cover story. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
Good afternoon to you, listeners and viewers. I'm Tyrone Reed. How are you, Sir Ricardo?
I'm doing all right. How are you, my friend?
I'm not too shabby for a middle-aged guy. Best to you for the year ahead, my brother. And to all our listeners and viewers as well.
Happy New Year to you, too. All right, so what do we have on the cover story today, Tyrone?
Well, in today's edition of the cover story, we want to turn our attention to international stroke regional matters, because these actions involve the Caribbean, and Jamaica must pay attention to what's happening within the region. And former Prime Minister Bruce Golding says the foreign policy damage being done by United States President Donald Trump could take years, if not generations, to repair. He made the remark as he deepened his criticism of Trump's conduct of U.S. foreign affairs. The former Prime Minister also cautioned world leaders against allowing fear to silence their voices. Here's Shaloy Smytle with more.
In a blistering opinion piece issued to the media early Thursday morning, the former Jamaican Prime Minister strongly criticized the sitting U.S. president. Speaking on Cliff Hughes Online a few hours later, Bruce Golding went further. He accused the American leader of attempting to reconstruct the world to his liking. Golding says if successful, Trump's actions could take years to repair.
We are in dangerous times because the world is now under the thumb of a megalomaniac who is determined to reshape the world in his own image, and that is deeply troubling. And that is something that could disrupt the world in such a way that could take us generations to repair.
According to Golding, Trump's abuse of power is the worst the Caribbean region has faced in decades. In acknowledging the silence of CARICOM, Jamaica's 8th Prime Minister conceded that no sitting head of government could have taken such a hard-line approach to Trump. Still, Golding is urging former heads of government across the globe not to allow fear to silence them.
This is where I'm so disappointed. There are times that the world has to stand up and say, no. Up to now, the world has not been prepared to do that because the United States is so dominant in terms of the global economy, military might, that even major European countries are afraid to confront him because they know that he could tomorrow issue an executive order that could seriously damage their economies and seriously affect their people. In my view, we cannot allow that to somehow resist the truth of what is happening. I believe that persons like me, having served as heads of government, need to take up that role and say, hey, this is not the way the world needs to go.
According to Golding, America is not as spotless as its president portrays it to be. He believes Trump's decision to attack Venezuela and his subsequent threats to other countries is a distraction from the crises plaguing the alleged home of the brave.
It seems to me that America is coming to terms with the reality that Trump is not the good deal that they thought he was. I don't dismiss the possibility that the activities in Venezuela and the capture of Maduro was influenced to some extent by a desire to distract people from the problems of the rising prices that they face at the grocery shops and higher housing costs and so on. Whether that is so, I'm just hoping that the vote that they cast will result in the election of someone who will try to undo the damage that Trump has done.
Shaloy Smichael for Nationwide News.
Thanks, Shaloy. After the break, Associate Professor of Political Science and Policy Studies at Elon University, Dr. Damian Blake, and Senior Reporter from Guardian Media, Darcy Polo, will join us.
This Christmas, choose life. As we recover from Hurricane Melissa's devastation, we're reminded that life is fragile. Pedestrians, stay alert. Drivers, slow down. Rest if you're tired, and never drink and drive. One careless decision can change a family forever. Let's have a safe and prayerful Christmas and a crash-free 2026.
Back with you on Nationwide at 5. We have with us Dr. Damian Blake, Associate Professor of Political Science and Policy Studies at Elon University, and Senior Reporter from Guardian Media, Darcy Polo. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Dr. Blake, let me start with you. You heard the former Prime Minister. Is he right?
Well, yeah, the Prime Minister said several things, right? And the other things that he said. Overall, I agree with his conclusion that CARICOM heads of governments, that they don't have the latitude and the kind of privilege to say the things that he is saying. Certainly, I am sure that they are considering it, they are thinking about it, but it is very important that CARICOM heads of government, including our own Prime Minister, be tempered in the ways in which they think about and respond or talk about it. They have to be very strategic, right? And let's not forget, we are in the quote-unquote backyard of the United States, and there's a long history of America's hegemony in this hemisphere. So it would be prudent for CARICOM heads of government to be tempered, to be sober, and to be very strategic in the ways in which they respond and the rhetoric that they have around the U.S. president's actions with Venezuela.
Darcy Polo, I'd love to hear your reaction to former Prime Minister Bruce Golding's remarks, but also to what Dr. Blake said there about those individuals who are currently the heads of government across CARICOM and how measured they ought to be in their response. Is it that our leaders need to bite the bullet, just tackle this issue head on, or do they need to take that cautious approach that Dr. Blake just outlined?
It's interesting that Mr. Golding, as a former Prime Minister, I have to say that most of what he has said, like Dr. Blake, I agree with. However, we see CARICOM nations in a very ticklish position, because if they say the wrong thing
President Trump has already demonstrated through his actions in Venezuela, his threat to Colombia, Cuba, Mexico, Greenland even, that he is prepared to take action and go far beyond what we often see coming from the United States to emphasize his position. Now, we saw in Dominica and Antigua and Barbuda in particular, where visa restrictions were imposed, and one could only assume that it's owing to those two prime ministers' seemingly close relationship with Venezuela's deposed president, Nicolas Maduro. One could argue that St. Vincent and the Grenadines could have faced a similar situation had Dr. Ralph Gonzalez also won that election. But it is my view that CARICOM needs to speak with one voice, not to placate President Trump, who is in fact breaking international law, but to represent as a united body the views that the Caribbean should remain a zone of peace, and that taking this sort of action, invading a country and going and capturing a president to take him to your home country to face legal repercussions is something that should not be supported. But of course, when you're sitting in the seat and you are a prime minister, there's so much more to weigh than just your own personal views.
Darcy, the former prime minister also warned the prime minister of Trinidad and Tobago. She has said that CARICOM is an unreliable partner. And Mr. Golding said to her in his op-ed, she may come to find, much to the charging of herself and to the Trinidadian people, that it is Donald Trump and the United States that are actually the unreliable partners. Since the strike on Venezuela, the ouster of Nicolas Maduro, have you detected from Mrs. Prasad-Bissessar any shift in tone or her position on these matters?
On the contrary, Prime Minister Kamala Prasad-Bissessar has tripled or quadrupled down on her position. That position was emphasized at the UN security meeting, the emergency meeting that was called. It was also again emphasized at the Organization of American States special meeting that recently happened, that Trinidad and Tobago is going to support all action, according to her government, that will eradicate narco trafficking and improve the lives of people in our diaspora, in our country. It's a hardline approach. We would have seen our Prime Minister say that the United States should kill them all violently in relation to narco traffickers, in which two Trinidadian nationals, two Trinidadian fishermen would have also been casualties. But Mr. Golding is right. When we see President Trump take a stance where he appeared to have been in support of Maria Machado, to then later say, when he eventually captured President Maduro, that he did not think she received the respect of the people in her country. In Latin America, there's a saying that the United States does not have allies, but they have interests. And so it's really important that all leaders, all global leaders, toe a very thin line and recognize that you're not necessarily safe just because you say that you are in support of President Trump's actions or President Trump as a whole. You really have to be very careful. Policies change, and President Trump has already demonstrated that he himself is likely to change his tune at the drop of a dime.
Yeah. And Dr. Blake, what do you make of what that division means for the strength of CARICOM at a time when one would assume that it needed to be at the zenith of the little power that it does have in these matters?
Yes, certainly. CARICOM has always, spoken as a kind of unified group, or we have come to, that has been kind of their pattern. This division now, particularly with Trinidad and Tobago being an outlier, is quite interesting. But, I think each of the countries in CARICOM are now making their own individual assessments. And as we have been saying in this discussion, the Donald Trump administration and President Trump himself, right, seems to be more committed to the idea of wielding power and hegemony and the America First mantra, rather than the old pillars of democratic values around sovereignty and cooperation and interdependence that we have long come to hold as dear. And so it is very important that these CARICOM heads of governments understand this environment, and that Trump himself is someone that is quite transactional, yes, and that I think he embodies the mantra that was just mentioned, that America doesn't have friends or foes, but has interests, and he is pursuing, in his view, the interests of America, which is to re-establish a kind of Monroe Doctrine. He calls it the Donroe Doctrine, right? The wielding of the big stick, and to stamp America's power and hegemony in this region.
Dr. Blake, and that's a point on which I'd love to come in and come back to that previous argument you proffered concerning the approach of the leaders in the region. Isn't this kind of timidity the fuel for this kind of approach being taken by Donald Trump? He wants you to be afraid to say anything and to respond. And perhaps here is where CARICOM could earn its keep, where instead of having one person being singled out, speaking out, the leaders could speak as a whole. So because the permanent interest must remain in place, would he go ahead and punish everyone? Shouldn't now the sitting leaders, those who are in the game, be the ones to say, look, this is not acceptable? The timidity will allow this to continue. Isn't that a reasonable argument, Dr. Blake?
Tyrone, that is one way of looking at it. And certainly, you would be walking on some fertile ground to see that there's a way that CARICOM heads of governments can say that this is a long-standing region of peace. This is a region where we are built on the ideas of interdependence. We are built on the ideas of sovereignty and democratic values, the kinds of values that we have come to know the U.S. to be firmly behind. The problem is, it seems that the ways in which the Trump administration is going now at these values of democracy, the institutions of democracy, and the platform for peace is quite different. Trump is a different kind of president, a different kind of leader. And so, as a shrewd politician, as a shrewd person in the global economy, CARICOM heads of governments will have to be very careful in how they engage with him because of this kind of, you may call it this waffling ways in which he administers and the ways in which he engages in international diplomacy. So it's a very sticky wicket, to use the Caribbean context. But in the end, I would say, Tyrone, and to our listeners, that the CARICOM heads of governments have to think about their economies. We live in a very vulnerable economic space, and also around the areas of security. I mean, it is a space where we have drug trafficking, where we have the flow of guns, and we have gangs. And, fortunately or unfortunately, the U.S. is an important partner in regional security in the space, and is an important influencer around the economic development. Trump could easily tomorrow, if all the governments say make a statement, could easily put out some tax on travel, and right away that would hurt the tourism product of many CARICOM countries. So it really requires, as I said in my earlier remarks, this strategic, deliberate, almost walking on eggshells kind of diplomacy.
So it's not timidity, it's diplomacy.
Ms. Polo.
No, it's a new kind of timidity.
Ms. Polo, we've heard from Bruce Golding, we've heard from Ralph Gonzalez. Has there been any word from Dr. Keith Rowley in Trinidad?
Dr. Rowley has been particularly quiet since the capture of President Maduro. In fact, he really didn't want to say very much. When I last spoke with him, it was at the funeral of a late PNM stalwart, who was actually an advisor and close friend to our first Prime Minister, Dr. Eric Williams. That's Ferdinand Ferreira. And when I spoke to Dr. Rowley, what he did was he criticized our Prime Minister, Kamala Persad-Bissessar, for opening our airspace. That's something that she did in late December to allow U.S. military planes and assets to come to our airports in Trinidad as well as in Tobago to refuel and as they continued their operations in the Caribbean Sea. He rejected that action and said that the Prime Minister would have allowed Trinidad and Tobago to be an extension to U.S. operations, and he was very upset about that. But since then, he has been radio silent.
There's another matter. The indictment in the Southern District of New York mentions politicians who operate along the Caribbean route, and it alleges that these politicians may have aided and abetted drug running and cocaine smuggling. And I noted with some interest that your Prime Minister, Kamala Persad-Bissessar, she quoted that part of the indictment. She posted it to social media. How is that playing in Trinidad? Because clearly the allegation is that there are Caribbean politicians who are involved in drug running, and the U.S. is aware of this. And Mrs. Persad-Bissessar seemed to be agreeing.
Yeah, that indictment, it was an interesting read because it also spoke about loads of drugs, which is a number that you really can't quantify.
Yes.
It's not a figure at all. I do think that is it appears to be a form of a distraction in terms of the conversation, where our Prime Minister would have said people in the region who are celebrated were, in her belief, she would not be surprised that they would be indicted. We did have Dominica's Prime Minister, Roosevelt Skerrit, saying everything that they had done was above board. He was not complicit in anything, and I'm sure you would see similar statements from other Caribbean leaders. I think it's very irresponsible for a statement of that nature to be made with claims that people were benefiting, leaders were benefiting from illegal activities without actually naming them and presenting the evidence. But let's be very clear. This is not something that should be very startling. We have in countries, just like in Trinidad and Tobago, police officers, judicial officers, people of very high profiles being connected to illicit activities. This is not a surprise. What's disappointing is when we don't have people not only named and shamed, but also charged or indicted. Why say it if we can't prove it? Why say it if we can't hold these leaders accountable? I think that it is a form of a diversion. It appears to be something just to add to a long list of allegations, but without actual evidence. It's just something else to talk about.
Have to leave it there. Dr. Damien Blake, Associate Professor of Political Science and Policy Studies at Elon University, and there is Polo, Senior Reporter, Producer at Guardian Media. Thank you both for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All the best. Take care.
The headlines are next.
The hour was brought to you by KFC's Festive Feast. Share the love this season with the new KFC Festive 9 Bucket for $4,500. Proceeds from every Festive Feast purchase goes towards hurricane relief. KFC, it's finger licking good.
The time brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy is
2 minutes after 6.
It's a season to share, more to give. Pizza Hut, amazing food plus.
Feeding good times. The temperature by Pizza Hut is
28 degrees Celsius in Kingston City, 27 out west in Montego Bay.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. Former Prime Minister Bruce Golding says the foreign policy damage being done by United States President Donald Trump could take years, if not generations, to repair. He made the remark as he deepened his criticism of Trump's conduct of U.S. foreign affairs.
We are in dangerous times because the world is now under the thumb of a megalomaniac who is determined to reshape the world in his own image, and that is deeply troubling. And that is something that could disrupt the world in such a way that could take us generations to repair.
According to Golding, Trump's abuse of power is the worst the Caribbean region has faced in decades. In acknowledging the silence of CARICOM, Jamaica's 8th Prime Minister conceded that no sitting head of government could have taken on such a hardline approach to Trump. Still, Golding is urging former heads of government across the globe not to allow fear to silence them.
This is where I'm so disappointed. There are times that the world has to stand up and say, no. Up to now, the world has not been prepared to do that because the United States is so dominant in terms of the global economy, military might, that even major European countries are afraid to confront him because they know that he could tomorrow issue an executive order that could seriously damage their economies and seriously affect their people. In my view, we cannot allow that to somehow resist the truth of what is happening. I believe that persons like me, having served as heads of government, need to take up that role and say, hey, this is not the way the world needs to go.
Bruce Golding, former Prime Minister of Jamaica. The Jamaica Constabulary Force, the JCF, is asserting that the death of 4-year-old Romaine Bowman in Granville, St. James, is not being investigated as a police killing. Little Romaine was killed during an alleged shootout between police and gunmen in St. James on New Year's Day. Since then, a report from the Gleaner listed the 4-year-old as one of the 14 people killed by the police since the start of the year. The JCF says this reporting is false. In a statement on Thursday, the police say including Romaine as a police shooting victim is inaccurate and unsupported by facts. The force says the matter is the subject of a homicide investigation aimed at determining the source of the fatal injury and the weapon involved. Meanwhile, commanding officer for the St. James Police Division, Senior Superintendent Aaron Samuels, says the police attempted to shield the 4-year-old during the gunfight in Granville.
I have been a woman who put their lives on the line every day, and that particular night, my men put their lives on the line in the heights of a gunfight to get that child to the hospital, using their bodies as shield to the mother and child. So it's very emotional for us. Yes. So we don't take it lightly in terms of what transpired. And we continue to offer psychosocial support to the family, and that will continue.
SSP Aaron Samuels, commanding officer for the St. James Police Division. He was speaking at Thursday's monthly meeting of the St. James Municipal Corporation. Chief Justice Brian Sykes is calling for significant reforms to the country's trial court system. The courts, known as circuits, currently operate on a rotating basis across each parish, but the country's most senior judge says the system has become inefficient.
Apart from Kingston and St. Andrew and Montego Bay, every other court has 4 weeks per term. So September to December, 4 weeks. January to Easter, 4 weeks. Post-Easter to the summer, 4 weeks. So that's 12 weeks. So it's 5 days. So that's what? 4, 5, 20. That's 60 days per year. And in that now, the judge is expected to be preparing cases for trial, trying cases, sentencing, and all of that. So that activity cannot, dealing with bail applications too, that cannot take place efficiently and effectively anymore. And so what is needed is a rethink of how we manage those rural circuits.
Justice Sykes says the number of cases being tried has significantly expanded beyond the existing capacity. He's proposing the establishment of trial centers to improve circuit court efficiency.
One solution is to have a major trial center where abolish the circuit system and have the cases coming, that means an expansion of the judiciary. But rather than have persons wait for the next circuit, you could have a major trial center, for example, in Montego Bay. The same way you have the Western Regional Gun Court, so a major trial center in Montego Bay, and then taking the cases from, say, Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James. So it's not casting stone, but what is clear is that the current circuit system cannot cope anymore. Not that it was inherently bad, but I think it has gone as far as it can.
Chief Justice Brian Sykes. Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness is calling on the church to help the government to effectively combat violence in the society. Prime Minister Holness made the call while speaking at the National Day of Prayer service in Portmore on Wednesday.
These are things now, the social violence, that we're going to need the help of the church now, not just in prayers, but in action. From the pulpit, preach the rejection of violence as a means of resolving conflict. The church and other entities must now be able to see very quickly when a situation could escalate to violence and intervene very quickly.
Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness. Those were the headlines at 6. I'm Shaloy Smichael. Sports is next.
In today's economy, smart investments matter more than ever. And real estate, it's one of the best you can make. But success starts with knowledge and regulation. That's where the Real Estate Training Institute comes in. Whether you're buying, selling, or starting a career in real estate, make sure you're trained and certified. Invest in yourself. Contact the Real Estate Training Institute today. Visit reb.gov.jm to get started.
Everything loud and wicked every Saturday 3 to 5 p.m. with Outside with Pepita. Loan vibes, loan laughs, and loan entertainment. Come on the road with we. Cause when we say Outside with Pepita, we're there all over Jamaica. Anyway, check them out. We're there. We're in on the business. Stay tuned in for prizes, surprises, giveaways, guest artists, and enough more. But hold on there. Don't forget to big up my DJ. DJ Jerome, the shell boss, I'm gonna make your bust to pew pew with the maddest, baddest, and latest tune. So look out for Outside with Pepita. We might be coming to a town near you. You heard it here first. Outside with Pepita, Saturdays 3 to 5 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM. The new revolution in media. Jamaica, lock it in and don't miss a thing.
Good evening with your sports report. I'm Alex Wibby. We kick things off with some football as Manning Cup champions Excelsior High were crowned All-Ireland Schoolboy Football champions after beating the Costa Cup kingpin St. Elizabeth Tech 2-0 in the Issa Oliver Shield playoff at Stadium East. Captain Terence Williams gave Excelsior the lead on 10 minutes when he converted from the spot, and the game was made safe with 3 minutes remaining thanks to Kevon Salmon. Excelsior was winning their first Oliver Shield title in 22 years. Rudolph Speed, interim head coach of Jamaica's Reggae Boys, says his technical staff are currently looking at a 60-man provisional squad to form the nucleus of the squad that will make a last-ditch effort to qualify for the World Cup. The team will travel to Mexico in March to face New Caledonia on March 26. The winner will set up a showdown with the Democratic Republic of Congo 5 days later for a place at the World Cup. Speed says it's paramount he has the best players available to him.
January 15, we have a deadline to put together a 60-man squad for the World Cup. In March 26, we play New Caledonia, FIFA International Playoffs. We need to beat them and then we face DR Congo on March 31st. We win that game and qualify for the 2026. So far, we have looked at 52 names and we're working on the remaining 8. I mean, 52 is still not concrete, it can change. we have these players, observing them, watching them performance week in, week out, and every analyze every single day by technical staff.
Speed says getting the players in camp 4 days before the New Caledonia game isn't a bother.
Well, in modern football, you have to play, but again, we have the players the 22nd of March, all the players are available. So what we have done already is to sit down and work from the day when we hope to qualify, right back to know what we have to do. So we can't, cry about the time. Just have to work with the time and do our best effort, and that's what we practice. We're not worried about that. We also know that, if we get quality players, we make life easier. And that's what we're about.
Good up, Speed. Now, Alex Thomas, newly appointed assistant coach of Jamaica Premier League outfit Waterhouse, explained that his first order of business will be to reinforce discipline at the club. Thomas has joined Argentine head coach Javier Epstein in a new-look backroom staff tasked at reviving the season of the club.
To get the discipline of the team in order, the mental aspect, the physical, the mindset, to be prepared for a game. I'm here to assist in all departments, to make our coaching staff up, ready and upbeat. Our head coach Javier Einstein, he has said things, what he wants is strict on discipline.
The struggling Waterhouse currently sits in 9th place on 16 points from 15 games. Offensively, Waterhouse has only scored 14 goals thus far. According to Thomas, this isn't a true reflection of the talent that's within the club.
Yesterday was my first training session, and the quality of the players that are there presently are some quality offensive players. Is for them to just believe in the new coaching staff. Head coach Javier Einstein, he's very tactical, and my first game will be on Sunday against Gabriel. So it's just for us to, whatever we practice on the training pitch, to execute and mentally, physically ready for the game.
Alex Thomas. The leaders Arsenal and champions Liverpool played out a tested 0-0 draw at the Emirates in London in the English Premier League. The result means Arsenal remains 6 points clear of joint second place Manchester City and Aston Villa, while Liverpool are still 14 points behind Arsenal. Now to track and field, as there will be no Racers Grand Prix Athletics meeting in 2026. The meet, which has World Athletics Continental Tour Silver designation, has been cancelled. Organizers say they were forced to pull the plug on what would have been the 8th staging because they are unable to adequately fund the event. The Racers Grand Prix has been a staple on the local athletics calendar, pulling in some of the world's leading stars, the likes of Olympic and World Championships medalists Noah Lyles, Kishane Thompson, Oblique Seville, Brian Lavelle, and Antonio Watson. The government of Jamaica, through the Ministry of Sports, have been long-time backers of the Racers Grand Prix, with the largest part of the financing coming from global sports goods manufacturers Adidas, who still have 2 years to run on their current sponsorship deal. Meanwhile, organizers of Western Relays have also pulled the plug on the 2026 staging due to uncertainty over the availability of the GC Foster track. The meet was scheduled for February 14. However, the track at GC Foster is to be resurfaced, but there is no confirmed start date, and that has put the organizers in a state of uncertainty. The Western Relays have been staged outside Western Jamaica for the past 7 years, as the Montego Bay Sports Complex track remains in need of repairs. The Minister of Sports, Oliver Grains, says the planned upgrade of the National Stadium and the Stadium East will significantly enhance Jamaica's ability to host major regional and international sporting competitions. Speaking on Wednesday, Minister Grains announced a change to the project's timeline. While ground was originally scheduled to be broken in August 2025, with construction expected to begin in early 2026 and last for 3 years, the government has now decided to bypass the ceremonial groundbreaking and move directly into construction in July 2027. As part of the redevelopment, the National Stadium will receive 10,000 additional seats, increasing its total capacity to 50,000. The expansion is expected to place the facility among the region's premier sporting venues, capable of accommodating larger crowds for marquee events.
We are in a position to bid for international events, and those discussions were held with Lord Cole. And he's quite excited about Jamaica being in a position to host these activities. So we're trying our best to move the project faster than it's being scheduled.
Oliver Greens, Minister of Sports. Now, the local track and field season for 2026 begins on Friday with the staging of two major meets at Jamaica College, the Sprint Fest and the Pure Water R. Danny Williams JC Development Meet. The two-day Pure Water R. Danny Williams JC Development Meet is scheduled to begin on Friday and will continue into Saturday, bringing together more than 1,600 athletes representing 50 teams from across the island. Meanwhile, Sprint Fest, a compact 2-hour event, will also take place on Friday at Jamaica College, starting at 2 p.m. A member of the Sprint Fest organizing committee, Wayne Long, says the meet continues to grow in popularity because of its unique format, which focuses exclusively on the 200 meters.
Coaches may have their other objectives. They want to see how the athletes stack up against everybody else. They want to see how the training is going. They want to see what the other competition is like. A lot of the meets, they are very restricted to the number of participants that they can have participate. So probably it's just 2 people per class per event. For this, we have unlimited entries so that they can come and they can run all the athletes to see where they are. The next thing that why they love this meet is that it's just within that 2-hour time. They don't come and spend the whole day.
Meet coordinator for the Pure Water R. Danny Williams JC Development Meet, Dwayne Johnson, is anticipating an exciting start to the season.
Should be very exciting and very thrilling. The top 3 boys' schools will be on show here. We don't see an entry from Omo Technical, but all the other top girls' schools will be here as well. So should be an exciting affair, and we're looking forward to the competition.
Johnson is impressed with the strong show of interest from schools in Western Jamaica, despite the effect of Hurricane Melissa.
There is actually good support from the West. Quite a number of schools from the West are registered. Cornwall College, Monroe College, St. Elizabeth Technical, Magati High School, St. James High School. So it's actually the contrary. A lot more Western schools registered this year, and I think that part of that may be they normally have a meet that goes on the same day down west that usually takes place at Herbert Morrison High School, and you could imagine the challenges in trying to keep that meet this year.
Dwayne Johnson, I'm Alric Swaby, and that's your sports.
For all your scales and food processing equipment, call Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited at 876-968-9612-5. The time by Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited is
6:21.
This holiday season, give yourself the gift that keeps on giving. Speed Queen washers and dryers from Singer. Speed Queen appliances are built to last, providing you with reliable performance and efficient cleaning season after season. And for a limited time only, receive free laundry basket and Woolite detergent with your Speed Queen purchase from Singer. This Christmas, get 6 months to pay the cash price, 12 months no interest, and up to 24 months credit. Visit Singer today and get the ultimate laundry solution. Merry Christmas from Singer.
As a parent, you give your children a good start in life. You nurture, protect, and guide them. Parenting is a process that prepares your child for independence. As your child grows and develops, there are many things you can do to help your child. Stay tuned to The Big Show, nationwide this morning, for parenting tips. Fridays at 6:53 a.m. Only here will you learn everything you need to know about parenting. Tips to help parents navigate the incredibly challenging and rewarding journey of child rearing. Parenting tips on Nationwide at 90 FM, the revolution in media.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Good evening, and welcome to Public Opinion. I'm Roby Ann Williams. A special one to our friends over there on our YouTube platform. Thank you so much for tuning in. We invite you to weigh in live in the comment section on today's Public Opinion. Today, we're speaking about a topic that not many are openly speaking about former Prime Minister Bruce Golding. He's saying that the foreign policy damage being done by United States President Donald Trump could take years, if not generations, to repair. He made the remark as he deepened his criticism of Trump's conduct of U.S. foreign affairs. The former Prime Minister also cautioned world leaders against allowing fear to silence their voices.
We are in dangerous times because the world is now under the thumb of a megalomaniac who is determined to reshape the world in his own image. And that is deeply troubling. And that is something that could disrupt the world in such a way that could take us generations to repair.
That's former Prime Minister Bruce Golding. He was speaking on Cliff Hughes Online earlier today. So in Public Opinion this evening, we're asking, do you share Bruce Golding's assertion that Trump is a threat to global stability? For those of you who are on our YouTube platform, keep those comments coming while I go on over to our Facebook platform. Elorita Mitchell says every word is true. His explanation on point. Andrew approach, sensible and wise. Can't attack Trump for removing someone who was unjust in his actions. Elorita says Maduro is a dictator after all. Janice Sampson is questioning why Bruce Golding chose to share his opinion about such man in news outlets. And PJ, why didn't he share it among his family? Okay. Rajay, the future Lee, says, yes, I agree. Trump's ousting of Venezuela's president is slammed for breaching sovereignty, international law, and stability, risking conflict, crises, and ignoring democratic self-determination. George Elliott says he will be until after the midterm elections when he will be impeached and removed from office. That's according to George Elliott. But Mr. Golding needs to allow the PNP to make those comments, he says. Michelle Bernard, let me see if I can. Oh, she's referring to something else, talking about electricity in St. Elizabeth, Southwest St. Elizabeth. Brian Cameron is saying that the article presents a sobering and intellectually forceful intervention by former Prime Minister Bruce Golding, one that deserves serious reflection rather than casual dismissal. Brian says that Golding's commentary is not the rhetoric of partisan impulse, but the considered alarm of a statesman shaped by history, diplomacy, and a deep understanding of the fragility of international order. It's a very lengthy comment here coming from Brian Cameron. I'm not able to read everything in its entirety. But yes, Brian is seemingly says that the article presents a sobering and intellectually forceful intervention. That's according to Brian. Shines for Law Life Law says, is this a real question for real people to answer? Bruce never tell a lie, and the whole world knows it. Even the dead knows that Bruce speaking the truth. Okay. Carlisle says, no, Bruce is worse than the PNP. He's the PM, but his run-up him out, all right, and put the government in problem. That's according to Carlisle. A threat to humanity, Kiru says. All the wrong that Bruce did to Jamaica, Claudette says. Okay. In my own words, says yes. Yes to Bruce's assertion that Trump is a threat to global stability. Robert Ranger is saying, no, Bruce, Magena, please keep quiet. Let me see if I can get Olga. Olga says Bruce is on point. Winston, Bruce Golding has no moral authority to speak on stability. That's according to Winston. Didn't Bruce Golding risk stability? When as Prime Minister, he, did a lot of stuff. All right. Patrick Gordon says, yes, Mr. Golding is right. Philip Jackson, tell me one thing Bruce say, which is not true. Truth matters, and that's why the good book says lying lips is an abomination to the Lord. Smokey Joe is in 100% agreement with Bruce Golding. And Ricky is saying that we simply just want peace. Just peace. Yeah? Do you share Bruce Golding's assertion that Trump is a threat to global stability? That's our public opinion question on X. Immortal is saying, yes, I do. Even a blind man can see that. On our Instagram platform, I see a few comments there. It look like ain't nobody want to open their mouth. But all right, let me see. Presto is saying, my children lives matter. Bruce live a full life so him can talk. Okay, whatever that means. I think we can draw from whatever it is that he's saying. Willie Ryan Wilson says, I absolutely agree, but many won't admit that. The fear is so real among our leaders. It's disheartening, but see nothing wrong with standing up to say this is not the way the world is supposed to be. Beckett says, yes, absolutely. So too Marshall, agreeing with former Prime Minister Bruce Golding. Over on to our YouTube comments. Let me see over there. So, what's keeping? Howard Friend says Trump is a threat. Golding can say it, but Andrew shouldn't. Yeah, it wouldn't be politically correct. Blessed evening to you, Howard French. Sharon Bless is questioning what Bruce make unstable. Go ask PNP about okay, so you're referring to you're responding rather to one of the comment that I had just read. Carlin Smith saying that she shares Bruce Golding's views. Trump has created a blueprint that, if allowed to be rooted, will be used by other powerful countries. Red light for Trump, says Carlin Smith. What is the use of truth spoken that will have no effect on anything? That's a question coming from Linda Ming. Yeah? What is the use of truth spoken that will have no effect on anything? Linda Ming, I see you. Yeah? When your hand's in lion's mouth, take time, pull it out. That's according to Custis Brown. And I think as Jamaicans, we know what that means. Who am I says, I think Robian is a threat. Okay, wow. If she continues to wear that fabulous, okay, leopard. Okay, I see you. Who am I? I see you. You know, you frightened me a while ago. Who am I? Come here and say, oh, Robian now become a threat. To what? To what exactly? All right. Rodney is saying that Bruce is spot on. Anthony Williams says Bruce's comments are ill-timed and misguided. Yeah? Okay. All right. Let's see if I can get a few more comments. Let me scroll up to see. M. Jam is saying some people know nothing about world affairs. Okay. 100% says Godfrey Smith in agreement. SW said Bruce can't say anything. He's not in power. He left that donkey years ago. Yeah. Let me see. I am thinking about my economy. That's coming from Merlene. According to Devon Rumble, Bruce is an alarmist. Thank you so much, Howard. Blessings and appreciation. I agree with Bruce 100%. That's coming from LPY. Dre Views, let me hear your views. What Bruce Golding did is in our DNA. Paul Bogle, George William, Gordon, Jimmy Cliff, and Bob Marley did in history. Liberator and freedom fighter. That's coming from Dre Views. Political analyst says Jamaicans are afraid to lose their visas. So is that why some people hush? Eh? Let me see. Bruce is not one of our sharpest minds. Wow, Oscar. Many would disagree with you there. But, you know, to each his own. It's a court of public opinion. Give me your views. Let me see. Sharon Bless says, Roby, them just afraid to lose them visa. All right. I've been hearing that narrative for a very long time now. Alec, I'm scrolling up to see if I can see your views. Try sending it again for me now, please, Alec. Let me see. Not everything good for eat, good for talk. Coming from Errol Murray. I know that one. I know that proverb. Let me see. Jamaica has too much going on now for us on Bruce's. For us to comment on Bruce's outburst. What power does he and the PNP have to alter or adjust the current geopolitical climate? Wow. Pulling out the big guns. No pun intended. I agree with Bruce 100%. Let me see if I can get in a few more. Godfrey says, so true, thankfully. All right, unrelated there. And Rodney says, if every truth should be made known, there will be no peace. Yeah? Sharon, bless me, I have to read what the people must say. You know? We can't back down. We can't back wrongdoing. That's coming from Zena Beckford. Maureen McKenzie says, my economy comes first. According to Ozra Walker, Bruce is absolutely correct. Yeah? All right. A whole lot of comments coming in on this one. I suspect that many other people won't comment. Not touch it with that. What them normally say, not touch it with a tall stick or short stick. Something of that sort. I remember. Let me see. Big truth that a visa problem. Okay. All right. We can't back wrongdoing. Okay. Diplomacy is the key right now. That's coming from Mildred Hamilton. Yeah. All right. Thank you guys so much for participating in Public Opinion. Differing views, and we welcome them. We like the banter. We like the back and forth. Thank you so much for sharing with us. The business report is up next.
Public Opinion was brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is
6:34. Just to make a correction there during Public Opinion, Bruce is one of our sharpest minds. That's coming from Oscar. I got that wrong going through our YouTube chat. Thank you guys so much. It's the business report time, and we turn our attention to what's on the business scene. I'm Robeanne Williams once more. U.S. President Donald Trump has called for U.S. defense spending to be increased to $1.5 trillion in 2027 for what he called these very troubled and dangerous times. That would be more than 50% higher than this year's $901 billion budget, which was approved by Congress in December. Now, Trump said on social media, quote, "This will allow us to build the dream military that we have long been entitled to, and more importantly, that will keep us safe and secure regardless of foe." In separate posts, the president said he would crack down on payouts to bosses and shareholders of major U.S. defense contractors unless the firms speed up deliveries of armaments and build new manufacturing plants. In the currency markets at the close of trading today, it cost 158 Jamaican dollars and 93 cents to buy $1 US, 216 Jamaican dollars and 9 cents to buy $1 British pound, and 116 Jamaican dollars and 86 cents to buy the Canadian dollar. That's the business report. I'm Robeanne Williams. Good evening.
Need to make a change to your title or need a title? Geoland Title Limited is the place to be. They do lost title application, add and remove names from titles, wills, estates, first-time registration, land surveys included, affordable rates and flexible payment options, National Land Agency adjudication and land titling waivers available. They have 8 locations island-wide. Call 876-754-6436 or visit their website at geolandonline.com. Geoland Title Limited. Secure your land, secure your title.
Yo, check this out. This is Ding Dong Ravers, one of your patrons for the Sagicor Sigma Run 2026. And this year, we are bringing out the best. as we run, walk, and wheel for the West.
Hi, this is Lisa Hanno, and I'm proud to be a patron for this run in aid of funds to repair and rebuild schools damaged by Hurricane Melissa.
Hey, Public Civil here. I spent my whole life trying to make records, but this record is going to be special.
We're aiming to raise a record $150 million for children in the West.
Well, everybody come jump up, lace up, wheel up, donate some money, everybody sign up. We are run for the West.
Sign up now at SagittariusSigmaRun.com.
It's undeniable that we should be together.
The true beauty of music is that it connects people. It carries a message. It speaks to you. It changes you. And that's exactly what we do just for you every Sunday as we take you to Urban Paradise, 9:10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Urban Paradise is our weekly musical journey that will serve up 110 glorious minutes of positive storytelling through music, mixed in with inspirational features to provoke thought and to heal the soul.
You're like a dream come true. Just wanna be with you.
So join me, Diane Ashton Smith, this and every Sunday, 9:10 a.m. to 11 a.m. here on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media. Urban Paradise, opening our hearts, connecting to others.
It's the weekend and the youth are taking over the airwaves. Yes, we are the new voices and faces of the Talk Up You radio show. The voice of the Jamaican youth right here on Nationwide 90 FM.
After a busy week of work and school, come unwind with Jamaica's #1 youth radio show.
We're bringing you entertainment, fun facts, and staying true to youth development and advocacy.
Catch the action each and every Saturday as we roll out buzzy segments. What say you?
Youth for chat,
life skills,
global connect,
and Bust the Youth.
That's the Talk Up Youth radio show, Saturdays 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM.
Talk Up Youth, Miss Effie.
Talk Up Youth. Don't miss it.
Not a mercy. This one is very classic, dedicated to all the schoolers who are taking beats.
If you've ever struggled to pass an exam, then you'll know that students today are under great pressure to get good grades and secure qualification needed to move on to higher education. The problem is that too many students are struggling alone and could really benefit from connecting with hardworking teachers and other bright students in other parts of the country and the region. Join me, Dennis Brooks, this and every Friday evening from 8 to 9, with a repeat on Saturday morning from 8 to 9. For the A-Team, a study group on radio, my team of teachers, students, and experts will break down the syllabus, giving you information, tips, and past paper questions that will help you get top grades in your upcoming exams. Follow us on Facebook Live and on Twitter and be a part of the community. It's the A-Team, Fridays at 8 p.m. with a repeat at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. It's your free extra class on radio and social media. And it's right here on Nationwide 90 FM, the revolution in media.
As a parent, you give your children a good start in life. You nurture, protect, and guide them. Parenting is a process that prepares your child for independence. As your child grows and develops, there are many things you can do to help your child. Stay tuned to The Big Show, Nationwide this morning, for parenting tips. Fridays at 6:53 a.m. Only here will you learn everything you need to know about parenting. Tips to help parents navigate the incredibly challenging and rewarding journey of child rearing. Parenting tips on Nationwide at 90 FM, the revolution in media.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's Word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis, Weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of The Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
Cliff Says is by far the most popular mid-morning radio segment in Jamaica. Cliff Hughes shares his views on the hot-button topics of the day, editorializing on various issues in the news, breaking news stories, and expounding on stories. Cliff Says sets the tone of the show for the rest of the day. Join the award-winning journalist Cliff Hughes weekdays during Cliff Hughes Online at 10 to 10:30 a.m. Join the revolution in media.
It's Monday, get over your blues. Or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. The E-Zone is here for you. With the Stinger Honeybee
and Karim Boyatings
from 3 to 5 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM.
We've got your entertainment news.
Then we want to hear your views. Why you said?
Jump in the mix.
Or the hot seat.
Don't miss our brain busters.
Or the crazy giveaways.
Let's talk fashion.
Send us your outfit of the day. Ooh, cutesy. Very demure.
Are you looking for love?
Come on one of our blind dates. Send your request to ezoneblindates@gmail.com. That's ezoneblindates@gmail.com.
And stay tuned for your confessions.
These are my confessions.
Share them with us at ezoneconfessions@yahoo.com. I mean, is this planet Earth?
Is it?
I don't know. Let me check. Either way, it's got a buzz.
And a bugger thing.
Ow! Ow!
Welcome back. Top of the evening to you, rather, pardon me. You're still live inside Must Listen Radio. It's nationwide at 5. Of course, I'm Tyrone Reed. Ricardo Brooks should rejoin us momentarily. Inside the nation's business this evening, we turn our attention to agriculture, a sector that is, you could say, genetically linked to economic growth. That's how important it is, yes? The Jamaican agriculture sector is undergoing a $3 billion recovery program following Hurricane Melissa's devastating impact. Melissa caused an estimated $30 billion in losses, and that's nothing to sneeze at, yes? $30 billion in losses. It impacted over 70,000 farmers and damaged over 41,000 hectares of farmland. The Agriculture Ministry has been in a recovery drive to get the sector back on track. The Portfolio Minister, Floyd Green, joins us now to talk to us about those efforts and give us an idea of the pulse, as we try to check the health of the agricultural sector in this recovery bid. Minister, top of the evening to you. Welcome once again to Nationwide at 5.
Thank you, Tyrone. Always a pleasure. Let me say Happy New Year to you and Ricardo, the entire Nationwide team, and all your viewers and your listeners.
Thank you, and likewise to you and the team at the Agriculture Ministry as well, Minister. Minister, how far along are these efforts? We know how important this portfolio over which you preside is, and many people, those who know, tell you that if agriculture takes a beating, you can expect that economic growth in the country will take a beating. That's how important the agricultural sector is. How are the recovery efforts going, Minister?
So what I must say, Tyrone, is that our farmers continue to show tremendous resilience. And I really want to commend our farmers who, some of them the day after Melissa, were back out there planting again, trying to ensure that we can feed our nation again. And you're right, we are the heart and soul of the Jamaican economy. And I think ultimately our farmers and our fishers, they recognize that, and a number of them see it as their duty. So despite some of them going through tough 2024 with Hurricane Beryl and then a difficult Hurricane Melissa, they have really showed great resilience. And we're seeing it. So definitely in some of our crop lines, we're already seeing production come back up. So cucumber, Cucumber has come back amazingly, and lettuce, we're seeing a significant amount of lettuce and beetroot. And again, what you see, the crops that are 6-week crops have come back in such fashion that in a number of areas we're literally having an oversupply, because a number of farmers would have gone out and gone into those crops. And now we have another challenge, if you can speak about, which is just having, for example, just so much cucumber on the market, which outstrips the demand. So in some areas we're seeing a very good response. And clearly this is partially tied not only to the hard work of the farmers, but the fact that as a ministry, as an entity like RADA, we're preparing a little better for these events. So we would have had some vegetable seeds on the hand when Hurricane Melissa struck. We never knew that we were going to have Hurricane Melissa. Clearly, we're almost at the end of the season, but we know keep these things Tyrone just in case, because we know some weather-related events will happen. So 2 weeks after Melissa, we were able to distribute about 6,500 packs of seeds to farmers, not necessarily who are hardest hit, but for those who are ready to go again, so that we could drive the production in the shortest possible time, and we're reaping some of those benefits. Additionally, we've done a better job this time around, having learned from Beryl, where it was a long time for our irrigation systems to get back up and running because they never had any backup power. This time we were better placed. We had backup generators for some of our systems. So almost a week after Hurricane Melissa, we were able to get those systems back up and running, start providing water to the farmers consistently, and then the farmers do the rest. So in some areas, we are seeing excellent recovery. Now in other areas, as you can imagine, there is slower growth.
Right, and actually, a nice way to segue. Ricardo, I think, has rejoined us. Ricardo, are you with us?
Yes, Tyrone. If I could just follow up. Good evening, Minister. So I hear you on the short-term measures in terms of preparing for these things. But obviously, the environment that we're in now, the experts are predicting that these storms may be more ferocious and they may come more frequently. Yes. So are we helping our farmers not only with things like the seeds and irrigation, but the long-term resilience that will be required to ensure that the sector can weather as best as possible these future shocks? What are we doing on that front?
Yeah, so each year we absolutely try to build and instill more resilience in our sector. So, for example, some of the problems that we've had are not just weather related, but clearly will help us, some of the solutions will help us for these weather events. So some of the challenges that we've had are lack of storage. That's one of the major challenges. So as I spoke about the fact that we've gone into, in some areas, actually a glut, again, we have that challenge because a number of farmers plant at the same time, then you have an oversupply, but you don't have the storage capacity to extend the shelf life of those items. So we quickly move from glut to shortage. And this happens again when we have these weather-related events. We say to farmers, go out, harvest what you can, but if they don't have anywhere to store it, then there's going to be spoilage. So what you will see this year, having made the investment last year, is that we're going to be opening up now significant new storage spaces. So we've already done a 40-foot container in Flaggerman that's renewable energy powered, and we're now putting in the management structure for that. We are doing a Essex Valley storage facility that will hold about 22 containers of food. We want to open that up come the end of this month. We have finished our Kirkvine facility, which we want to open this quarter. So one of the things that we're doing in terms of building resilience for these weather-related events is put in adequate storage to help our farmers. Outside of that, Ricardo and Tyrone, clearly some of the farming practices have to change, right? So we are looking, and you'll hear us talk more about it this year, introducing the farmers to some, different types of farming. Clearly, we've seen the greenhouse farming, but things like our vertical farm, vertical modular farms. There is a famous one now in Jamaica called the Jamaica Tower Farms, where literally when the hurricane was coming, they would have dismantled the farm, would have packed it up, and the day after the hurricane, they would have started to set it back up. So we are going to be introducing to some of our farmers, to some of our schools, so that they can teach the next generation of farmers these farms and how to utilize these farms and the different techniques so that we can have these methodologies take root across our agricultural sector.
Yeah.
Minister, you said something that I wanted to go back on before I ask you to segue into the areas, specific areas that we're not doing so great in terms of the recovery. You did say there are some areas in relation to those 6-week crops that there is a glut now. I'm not a green thumb by any stretch of the imagination. The last farming I did was in high school back in Ireland, and that's many, many moons ago. But isn't that impressive that we could be looking at a glut given the disruption that Melissa read?
It is absolutely impressive. And part of what is happening is that we are building resilience in the system. So our farmers are making themselves better prepared. We are getting the messages out earlier, so people are taking better decisions in terms of how much crops they have out and how they can go back out. And again, with things like irrigation, it's one of the things that irrigation does build, because oftentimes if you have to wait on the rainfall after the storm to plant again, then you have a challenge. Now, if you have an irrigation system, then you are able to go again. So we are building good resilience, and we saw this after Beryl. Remember, if we looked at the last quarter figures, before Hurricane Melissa, one would recognize that agriculture saw 20% growth. Now, while it was being compared to low numbers in relation to Hurricane Beryl, we were tracking 7% ahead of our best year ever. So it means that having gone through Beryl, we were really coming back on the back of resilient farmers. And we see that play out again. Now, the other areas will take some longer time, and what we have to do is to keep the tracking, because what we do want is the same sort of consistency. So, for example, we saw 6-week crop come back in 6 to 7 weeks. And in sufficient quantities that nobody was complaining when they went to the marketplace. And I said, with agriculture, you really can't hide your results. You see it. You can go to the market and people will tell you whether things are going like you. We all know that Scotch bonnet and pepper in general had skyrocketed, right? Now we're seeing the pepper come back down. Now pepper is a longer term crop. So this is how part of how...
Minister Green?
It seems we've lost the minister there, Ricardo.
Yeah, we have. We're going to try to reconnect. But you're absolutely right, Tyrone,
yes.
that a glut so soon after
soon,
such a devastating event is indeed significant. And I'm happy to hear that, because it suggests that we're getting the resilience aspect of it right, that we can bounce back. System, yes, that we can bounce back faster, and that's important.
Absolutely, and that's a key indicator of building our resilience into the system. Yeah. So it's absolutely a great news to hear, and it shouldn't be downplayed at all, that we could be looking at a glut in terms of certain produce. And those areas in which we're struggling now, perhaps we can pay some particular attention to those areas. And when we get the minister back, it's one of the things that we definitely should put to him. How are we going to, what are we going to do specifically now to help in those areas that we're seeing that kind of a struggle taking place, Ricardo?
Yeah, and you recall that people were predicting that we were going to be facing severe hardships in terms of agriculture and severe shortages. And while, yes, there's been some shortage, the rebounding of the sector is a positive. I worried. I definitely worried, because having been to St. Elizabeth, been to Westmoreland, and seen the devastation, I was thinking to myself, boy, we're going to be in for a rough time in terms of the availability of produce.
Things that we and Jamaicans, and as a society, as a country, as a people, we will need to get our minds around, Ricardo, and there needs to be a culture shift. If we can get to the place where we're able to feed ourselves adequately, we will solve a number of our problems. Mm-hmm. We would spend less on imports, and the agricultural sector will continue to grow
and better insulate us from some external shocks.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If we can build out the agricultural sector in the way that we need to, with the required resilience given climate change and its impacts, definitely. If economic growth, if we're going to see good economic, solid economic growth, consistent economic growth, agriculture must move forward with that.
Yeah.
It's something that we need to wrap our minds around, as Jamaicans, that if we need to buy more stuff that is grown and in Jamaica and see how best we can focus on agriculture to really get it to where it needs to be. Because
minister,
it's tied at the hips.
The minister is back with us.
The minister is back with us. Minister, welcome back.
Sorry. Yes, and I was on the last point about just irrigation. And there was an article about Parnassus. And if you saw that article, where I remember last year was when the Prime Minister and I commissioned the Parnassus system, and you saw those farmers, they said they suffered loss, they suffered significant loss, but now that they have the water, they are getting back out as quickly as possible, because they also know the quicker you can get back out there, then it is better for you in terms of the return on your investment. And if we continue to ensure that the ministry is nimble to get to these farmers, we have these systems operational, then we will build a resilient agricultural sector, despite the fact that we are in a zone that is prone to these weather-related shocks.
Minister, in your absence, Ricardo and I were just chopping it up a bit on the importance of agriculture and Jamaicans buying into this message about buying more stuff that are grown in Jamaica, that are produced locally. What are we doing in terms of pivoting to the additional things? Because I think you did mention some of them. Those sectors that might not be rebounding as quickly as we would want. What are some of the additional things that we're doing, pivoting to help those particular areas? What are some of those additional areas, and what are we doing?
Yeah, so part of what we do, we have timed the intervention. So, we would have rolled out first with the vegetable lines, which are normally the easiest, providing seeds and things like fertilizer. Then we would have gone into our broiler production. So, we would have lost a number of small backyard chicken farmers. We are in the phase now of distributing 100,000 broiler chicken across the country, and we would have started that in December, and we are staggering that across various parishes. We are doing our banana and planting intervention now. We lost about 100% of our banana and planting crop. So what we're doing, providing the nutritional support, I have seen coming from Hurricane Beryl, that if you give these farmers the support in a timely fashion, then banana takes us about 7 to 9 months to get back up and running. If you work with them, we can get it back in that time. Things like our egg production will take us a longer time, and that is largely to do with capacity in terms of being able to get the layers. I do have a number of people who are interested, who want to get into egg production, but just the biology of getting the layers and the challenges we have with sourcing these things externally because of disease, it kind of retards how quickly that can come back to the fore. But we're working with our main producers. They have come up with a methodology where they're going to be working with some of the other private sector players, and instead of using their own grow-out facilities, which again are constrained by space, use some of those facilities to grow out, so they can be growing out more at the same time, so we can say we can return as quickly as possible. But some of those things naturally will take a longer time period. We have programs around greenhouse, and then our fisheries sector. Our fisheries sector, we started 2 weeks after by distributing wire. And if you guys are familiar with our fisheries sector, a number of our artisanal fishers, they set pots, use their fishing wire to make pots, drop them at sea. A number of them would have lost everything. But we wanted to see how quickly we could get them back out, so we started with some small distributions, but over 1,000 fishers across 25 beaches between Hurricane Melissa and December, and now we're going into the phase where we're looking to do boat grants we're looking to do engine grants because over 3,000 boats and engines were damaged in Hurricane Melissa. So some of those things will take us a longer time. We have to do some cleanup on the beaches. We have to rebuild some of that infrastructure. But the critical thing is the timely intervention is to reach as much people as possible and is to ensure that it is getting the results that we're looking for.
Based on the pace of the recovery so far, Minister, do you have a time frame within which you think the agricultural sector will rebound and some kind of normality will return to the sector? Do you have a time frame in mind?
Not yet. It's difficult to give time. Clearly, when we sit with the technical team, when we looked at Ivan, I'll go back to Ivan. When we looked at Ivan, it took us almost 2 years, a little over 2 years, to get back to where we were pre-Ivan. After Hurricane Beryl, it took us less than a year to get back to where we were. Hurricane Beryl. Now, Hurricane Melissa is at least, almost 10 times as bad as Hurricane Beryl. So it's very hard to give a timeline. And what I try to do is look at the specific crops and see if we can get back to their numbers in the time that it takes from you start the field to get them to fruition. If we can keep those timelines, then we would recover well. So as you may remember, we have waived the fees for land preparation. Once they go through RADA, we're providing the tractor service free for 6 months. We've also said that we will give all our seeds that we have at Bodles through the RADA system. We'll give that free for 3 months, and we're in that 3-month cycle now. We have waived our irrigation fees. Right, so a lot of these things are not happening by chance. We have removed some of the barriers to get our farmers out there, to incentivize our farmers. We've moved to remove the GCT on seeds as a thing to lower the input cost to get our people planted again. So I would say, Tyrone, let me watch it over this first 6 months, and then I'll be able to better say what we're looking for in terms of returning to where we were prior to Hurricane Melissa. And I mean, we were really on a good trajectory prior to Hurricane Melissa. So I use the opportunity to say to the farmers and to the officials, I know that some of you have not been reached to yet, that some of you are still going through a tough time. I assure you that we continue to redouble our efforts to reach as many farmers, fishers, our nursery operators, our greenhouse farmers. And this January to March is where you will see a robust acceleration of the pace of intervention as we really roll out this $3 billion to get this finished before the end of the financial year.
As you address the pace of the intervention, Minister, and the rollout of it, I saw an interesting 2 comments from one of our viewers on YouTube asking, is this another ad hoc recovery effort, and asking whether or not there is a master plan to recover from a disaster such as a hurricane on the scale of Melissa. It's not ad hoc, is it? Is there a master plan that the ministry follows?
We have moved from ad hoc definitely for the last 3 years. So we have institutionalized our disaster risk management and recovery systems. So, for example, we established around Hurricane Beryl a disaster recovery task force chaired by one of our chief principal directors, and already having the system for that has committees that focus on communication, that focusing on external sponsorship, that focusing on production. That is already in place. So we just activated that to treat with Hurricane Melissa because we now have these systems. Our disaster risk management team starts to meet January of each year to look at things like drain cleaning, to look at the weather patterns that are forecasted for the year, whether we're going to have a drought, to try to work with the NIC to plan for that as the National Irrigation Commission. So some of the results that we're seeing now in terms of how quickly we came back from Beryl, how quickly we're seeing some of the crops rebound from Hurricane Melissa is not by chance. It's because we've institutionalized our response framework. So we don't wait. As I was saying when we started, we don't wait until the hurricane comes and say, wait, we're going to need some seeds. Where are we going to get them? No, we procure the seeds before, and we have them. And we said, let us have them stay until we pass through this period. If we don't need them, no problem. We replenish them for next year. Let us have the fertilizer. Because normally, history has shown us our vegetable lines are more susceptible, right? And we do that for everything. So everything is a part of our master plan, and what we have broken out is strategic interventions. I give you a case in point. Our yam farmers in Trelawney. Clearly, they got a big hit this time, about 70% of the crop. We sent out our soil management team to do some testing before we went out with fertilizers, because when you saw the hillsides, and you would have seen it, Ricardo, Tyrone, when you went out directly after Melissa, we saw something that we've never seen before in terms of just what they call salt burn, and all the leaves gone and the trees stripped. And you wonder, did that impact the soil? Should you still use the same nutritional regime, or should you do something differently? So sent out the soil management team, did the test, work with our input providers to see if we needed a new type of fertilizer in terms of the ratios. And now we're rolling out our YAM program where we're providing nutritional support, we're providing planting support, things of that nature. So it is not ad hoc anymore. It is now institutionalized, and we have to, because as I said when we start, some weather-related event will happen every year. The climate has changed. We're either going to have a bad drought, we're going to have a significant hurricane, or we're going to have just a torrential amount of rain or wind. And that's why we push so hard to get the insurance for our agricultural sector, which part of my drive this year will be to get more farmers to take up that insurance package so that, the burden is shared in this recovery effort.
Floyd Green, Agriculture Minister, thank you so much for your time as always. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Minister.
Anytime. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
All right.
This business of battling the climate, the Minister just described.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have too little water.
Yes, and you have too much. And then you have too little sun, and they have too much. Makajukyo. And then we're so uniquely positioned geographically that, boy, it's just a rough time.
Big up to the nation's farmers, though.
Absolutely.
Who are really working hard to bring the country back. Yeah, big up to them.
Up on the break. We take the break, and then after the break in Minneapolis, ICE agents shot and killed a woman, and it's causing more division in America.
Do you have a consumer-related issue? Want to learn more about matters concerning you as a consumer? Well, keep it locked to Nationwide 90 FM for the Consumer Hour with me, Nora Gay Banton. Weekdays from 9 to 10 a.m. For all your consumer-centric matters, stay tuned to the Consumer Hour on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media. Exciting news! The Design Studio on Nationwide 90 FM just got a whole lot bigger. Join us this and every Saturday now from 1 to 3 p.m. for an exclusive show that elevates your home, mind, and soul. Discover the latest interior design trends to create your dream sanctuary. Unlock your true potential with personal growth strategies. Nourish your body and spirit with expert wellness tips. Don't miss out on the inspiration you need to live your best life. Tune in to the Design Studio this and every Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m. and take the first step towards a more fulfilling you.
Make me sweat, make me harder.
Come into the parlor, there's a welcome there for you.
Welcome to the Mayor's Parlor with Desmond McKenzie.
From 1 to 6 p.m. every Sunday, you'll now get more of your favorite vintage music.
Put your head on my shoulder.
Nationwide 90 FM will transform your Sunday into a musical time machine that will take you way back.
Come on, let's go back in time.
This magic moment.
Journey into yesteryear with Desmond McKenzie in the Mayor's Parlor.
I've got the music to jog your memory and make you smile.
Put your sweet lips a little closer to the phone.
Sit back, relax, and enjoy the best in vintage music.
Come into the Mayor's Parlor every Sunday between 1 and 6 p.m. here on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis, weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of the Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
Trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is This was an agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying. What they are doing is causing chaos and distrust.
That Air Fry's message to
the mayor there of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey, speaking to the shooting death of a woman by ICE agents. Yeah. Now, Renee Nicole Good, a 37-year-old U.S. citizen, a mother of 3, she was shot by an ICE agent on January 7. She had recently moved to Minnesota from Kansas City, Missouri, and was driving home from dropping off her 6-year-old son at school when she encountered the ICE agents.
Now, listeners, viewers, the video footage shows an officer approaching her car, demanding she open the door, and another agent firing shots into the vehicle as she pulled forward. And you can see those images on screen now. Good's family and the community describe her as a kind, compassionate, and loving person who was a poet, writer, and devoted Christian. Her mother, Donna Ganger, remembers her as, quote, one of the kindest people I've ever known.
The Trump administration is claiming that Good attempted to ram federal agents with her car, labeling her a domestic terrorist. But eyewitnesses and video evidence contradict this narrative, with Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey calling it, as you heard, BS. He stated that the agent recklessly used power. To react now, we're being joined by Director of Caribbean Immigrant Services, Erwin Clare, and retired Provost at John Jay College of Criminal Justice in New York, Professor Basil Wilson. Good evening.
Good evening to you, gentlemen. Welcome.
Good evening, Erwin Clare. Good evening, Pro. Good evening, Nationwide.
Good evening to you, gentlemen. If I could begin with you, Professor Wilson. I listened to Vice President J.D. Vance today, and a number of the journalists there sought to push back at how strident his position was, given the fact that an investigation is to be launched, has been launched into this, is ongoing. The details are still being arrived at, but for him to have arrived at the conclusions he did and push back the way he did, saying what happened to Miss Good was of her own making, and so on and so forth, and really taking the side of the ICE agent. What's your reading of that, Professor Wilson? Is the Vice President being premature in his pronouncements? Are they could they cause more harm than do good in terms of quelling tensions in the U.S. at this hour?
I think the Vice President is being the Vice President. J.D. Vance has always been known for being histrionic. And if you listen to what he had to say, obviously, what he saw and what other people also saw were two different videos of the same issue. There is no question that what the agent did was a violation of the lady's constitutional rights. There was a Supreme Court case that was decided from the 1970s that a law enforcement officer could not fire his gun when a car or an individual was fleeing and constituted no threat to that individual. That has been a constitutional right decided by the Supreme Court from the late 1970s. So Mr. Vance is not even aware, despite the fact he's a graduate of Yale Law School, he should be aware of people's constitutional rights and even what the Department of Justice have incorporates that in terms of what is the proper conduct of a law enforcement officer.
Erwin Clare, I'd love to hear your reaction to the entire ordeal, what we see in the video, the comments from Vice President Vance of the U.S., and of course, what's the mood on the ground like among immigrants given this development?
Yeah, first of all, let me say good evening and the opportunity to address that. I want to make this statement. And, I was doing some research and I came across this. When immigration is enforced through fear, force, and secrecy, death becomes the foreseeable outcome, not an accident. In today's onslaught on immigration, on the immigrant community, whether it be undocumented or other, is about fear. The folks who are involved in what's going on now have been given the license to act above the law. In other words, they are a sacred group that are protected from the White House. When the Secretary of DHS came out and laid down her statement, that was to control the narrative. Because what happened then afterwards is the president was echoing the same thing. The vice president, all the persons who are involved in this whole scenario where ICE has been empowered to have more rules and regulations and have more authority than even the FBI, and are protected. Because the truth of the matter is that based on past experiences where ICE have been involved in fatalities, sure, some type of administrative investigation will take place. I am not confident that the rule of law and justice will prevail here for the family. They'll have to seek this through the civil process. So J.D. Vance's opinions and his comments are symptomatic of the system and the environment in which we exist.
And what is that? What is that system and environment?
Fear. And these persons will use and go beyond the approach of law to get what they want to do. And the president has done it. He's proven to the fact that he's Teflon. So, I don't think he's stoppable in that situation, unfortunately.
Professor Wilson, sorry, go ahead.
Yes. I'm
Professor Wilson,
about to mention
go ahead.
that the methodology that they're using to impose what they call mass deportation invariably leads to this kind of tension between the Department of Homeland Security and the community. And so what happens then is that you have these constant confrontations taking place in respective cities, despite the fact that when you look at cities like Baltimore, there's a dramatic reduction in crime rates. Looking at cities like New York City, there's a dramatic reduction in crime rates. So they are creating a tension unnecessarily, and in fact putting a destabilization within civil society, which I think will be detrimental to the Trump administration when we have the midterm elections in November 2026.
Professor Wilson, you raised the constitutional right that someone has to not be fired upon by law enforcement officials if they are attempting to flee. But there are those who argue that in some of the, and at least one of the video angles of this incident, that the car brushed the ICE agent's foot, and that he felt as if he was under threat, that the car was coming at him, and which is why he opened fire. How would you respond to that? Is there sufficient in this video to make a case that the ICE agent felt as if his life was under threat and he had to fire?
Well, the video that I have looked at, Miss Good was about, she reversed and she turned her wheels to make her exodus. The ICE agent was to the side of the car, and incidentally, one of the things that Chris Num mentioned is that the guy was hospitalized. The guy walked away from the incident. Nothing was wrong with him. He was, in fact, mentioned that 911 should be called. There was no threat to him. He not only came to the side, and he fired 3 shots. One that went through the windshield window, and others from the side window. 3 shots that led to the death of the person. And it showed a certain heartlessness that ICE and DHS had no interest in preserving the woman's life. So if you have an agency that has a portfolio or a mandate is to engage in mass deportation, where they are detaining people in a measure that is unconstitutional, not adhering to people's constitutional rights. You just get a dynamic that is in fact destructive and is contrary to the whole democratic process. When you see these people on the streets, the way they are dressed, the way they go about their jobs, it is in fact a contradiction of the democratic process.
If we could stay on the legal issues surrounding this, based on what we know so far, Professor Wilson, was Renee Nicole Good committing any breach that would warrant the ICE officers advancing to her vehicle in the manner in which they did? And of course, for those who might not be aware, U.S. ICE means Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Was she committing any infraction that would have warranted that approach?
Well, whatever she was attempting to do, whether she was protesting the presence of ICE in the state of Minnesota or in Minneapolis, nothing is such that warrants the taking of her life. And what we see is this tension between protesters and ICE, which is a growing dynamic, and that just creates a tremendous amount of unnecessary tension. I mean, we saw the situation in Chicago. We just heard that the 2 people were shot some time ago in Portland, Oregon, having to do with federal agents. So we don't need that. I mean, what people are really now saying that the federal government needs to change their tactics in terms of dealing with the deportation of undocumented immigrants. What we really need is legislation that would give people the rights, people who have been productive, working here for years, who might have children who are American citizens, give them the opportunity to become documented and to be legal residents. And the people who are committing criminality, you go about deporting them in such a way that is not destabilizing and creating the kind of disturbance and, in fact, having the unnecessary kind of tension between the community and citizens.
Erwin Clare, is this the worst you've seen relations between the federal government and immigrants?
Yes, indeed. I think over the years, I will look at.
Erwin?
It seems we've lost Erwin Clare.
Oh, Professor?
Yes.
Yeah, let me put the question to you then. Is this the worst you've seen relations between the federal government and immigrants?
But it's not just between the government and immigrants. It's between the government and its citizens. You know, Miss Good was not an immigrant. She was an American citizen. So the whole confrontation taking place in cities and elsewhere is not just the mobilization of immigrants. Remember now, this is a country built by immigrants. If you look at New York City, this is a city of 8.5 million people. About almost 40% of people living in New York City were born elsewhere. A tremendous number of Americans were born elsewhere. And if they were not born elsewhere, some relatives of them were born somewhere else. So it is a city that has what Monahan and Glaser call a melting pot. We are a multiracial society. And what is happening in terms of this mass deportation, by white nationalists to engage in ethnic cleansing and to return the society to a state of whiteness. But as James Baldwin has said, America is no longer white and it shall not be white again. We are a multiracial society and they have to accept that reality.
Yeah. Erwin, you were responding to the question on relations?
Yes. Over the years, you would have seen the relationship between, and I speak now, the immigrant community and the police, where you know, their participation in helping to solve crime was part of the statistics that led to the crime statistics lowered in New York City, for example, because of that kind of relationship with the community. That is all gone because we now view the system as being oppressive. No, I would say this, that the intensity around the whole situation of rounding up persons for deportation has to do with the numbers set. Somewhere along the system, they believe that all immigrants in the United States are criminals. Because when you look at the numbers now that are locked up in ICE, over 70% are non-criminals, meaning that they have no criminal background. So what you find now is that they are going, because they have these totals that they have to deport, and there's an economic side to it as well, because, gentlemen, let's not forget this, that jail stocks are very expensive, a very lucrative business in the United States. They need to occupy these jails as well. There are people out there making money. All right? So now they are really going at, they're lowering the bar and picking up grandmothers and grandfathers and aging persons who've been there for over 40 years with no criminal activity, and now they're being picked up in the system. So yes, fair rules the land.
There are clear concerns, gentlemen, about what could be the response be in Minneapolis. Of course, Minneapolis being the hometown of George Floyd, who died at the hands of the police in Minneapolis. What's your reading of the polls, Professor Wilson, in terms of what could be the reaction of the people of Minneapolis, Minnesota, to this shooting? Are there fears in your own mind that things may escalate quickly?
Well, we have already seen that there were protests that began from this morning regarding the death of Ms. Good. That they have been willingness to confront ICE agents. They've been trying to stop the ICE agents from going out and prohibiting them from, in fact, disrupting the community. So there's no question that there's a long history in Minneapolis of opposing what is taking place in terms of the ICE agents. And in fact, the mayor was very clear in Minneapolis that ICE has no business being in the country. And in fact, you get that repercussion. There were protest demonstrations in New York City last night, and there is just ICE has just become very, very unpopular, and the methodology that they're using to deport people is just not in keeping with what I would call the decency of the American people. It is just too crude. It is cruel. It is destroying the structure of immigrant families, and it is something that I don't see how America benefits from that kind of imposition of mass deportation. It is just not a way. It just does not build community efficacy. It does not build trust. It is, in fact, incredibly destructive.
Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah. Oh boy, it's exhausting, Tyrone. And
it is.
And let me
It
tell
is,
you,
man.
and let me tell you something. Say what you will about this administration, it's been one of the most transparent and honest. At the start, they very clearly said that they were going to employ a strategy. They call it muzzle velocity. And it is intended, as they communicated it, to overwhelm the media, to overwhelm the courts, to overwhelm all the institutions of accountability, to keep them off balance, such that they can't focus on any one thing for too long. And the thinking was, as expressed by Steve Bannon and Stephen Miller, that would allow them to do what they want to do, which they say they were prevented from doing in the first term. So far, what is it now? Just about almost a year in, he seems to be achieving it.
And something that crossed my mind today, Rickard, as I listened to the press conference with Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance.
An extraordinary press conference.
And I listened to and Bruce Golding's comments. When you take the comments of Bruce Golding against the backdrop of what Vance was saying, with Bruce Golding saying it might take years, if not generations, to restore and undo all of what Trump is doing. And I thought to myself, what would a presidency under J.D. Vance look like? And you have to ask yourself, given his performance today before the media, that would it be better or would it be worse based on his utterances that he has made so far? What's your thinking on that?
I say worst, and here's why. Because he has the the part of it that I think Trump is lacking, which is the intellectual firepower. He's actually a smart guy. He has traded principle for politics because he was once a staunch Trump critic. And the moment he realized in order to be elected to the Senate in Ohio, he had to become a MAGA diehard, he did that. And then when he realized that there was not going to be a Mike Pence on the ticket as vice president, he started playing to the gallery. And sure enough, he got the nod and he's now vice president. So he's completely unmoored from principle. So I think he would go all the way and he would have the intellectual muscle to do what needed to be done to achieve this MAGA dynasty that they think is so important.
The disdain with which he treated with members of the media during the press conference, he basically made Miss Good, without an investigation into the matter, he made Miss Good out to be the villain in this scenario. It was just not. It wasn't vice presidential at all. And look, quite frankly, there are those. I know immigration is a touchy issue. But I understand the viewpoint, Ricardo, that there needs to be some amount of accountability and people should be required to abide by the immigration laws of the U.S. I'm not against that. Right? I'm not against that. But I listened to Vice President Vance today, and if you look at that video, you would have to conclude, you would have to be able to read Miss Good's mind to say she wanted to run this ICE agent over.
It's not true. Based on what you see in the video, no reasonable person could conclude that.
Let me tell you what you could reasonably conclude. If I'm leaning to anything, I'm saying she's trying to get away from the situation.
Precisely. Absolutely.
That is
absolutely. Based on what I've seen. Yes.
As someone who has no horse in the race, right? So I'm not in support of the Democrats nor the Republicans. So for him to have come out and be so strident
and blame her for her own death.
No, it is roundly unfortunate, and this is what blindly partisan politics gives you.
Take sleep, mark that. I keep telling Jamaicans, take sleep, mark that. Anyway, we're going to take your calls now, 630-9371-24, 618-6730. After the break.
As a parent, you give your children a good start in life. You nurture, protect, and guide them. Parenting is a process that prepares your child for independence. As your child grows and develops, there are many things you can do to help your child. Stay tuned to The Big Show, nationwide this morning, for parenting tips. Fridays at 6:53 a.m. Only here will you learn everything you need to know about parenting. Tips to help parents navigate the incredibly challenging and rewarding journey of child rearing. Parenting tips on Nationwide at 90 FM, the revolution in media.
Not a mercy. This one is very classic, dedicated to all the schoolers who are taking it.
If you've ever struggled to pass an exam, then you'll know that students today are under great pressure to get good grades and secure qualification needed to move on to higher education. The problem is that too many students are struggling alone and could really benefit from connecting with hardworking teachers and other bright students in other parts of the country and the region. Join me, Dennis Brooks, this and every Friday evening from 8 to 9, with a repeat on Saturday morning from 8 to 9. For the A-Team, a study group on radio, my team of teachers, students, and experts will break down the syllabus, giving you information, tips, and past paper questions that will help you get top grades in your upcoming exams. Follow us on Facebook Live and on Twitter and be a part of the community. It's the A-Team, Fridays at 8 p.m. with a repeat at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. It's your free extra class on radio and social media. And it's right here on Nationwide 90 FM, the revolution in media.
Faithful, you're up first. Good evening.
Good evening, Faithful.
Good evening, Mr. Book. Happy New Year, Mr. Reader.
Thank you, likewise, Faithful.
Thank you, Tom. Yes, I was wondering, I do Mr. Hughes spoke on it this morning. Today in the White House, Mr. Trump signed a declaration to withdraw America from all treaty that they have, over 60 of them.
No, so it's not all treaty. It's all treaty and organizations that he has deemed to be anti-American, but not all treaties.
Well, everything
that he deems anti-American, yes.
Where is the government of America? So, and in my mind, I think that's what a part of what make America great. And if America is withdrawn from all of these things, can America really call themselves great and to win a war by themselves? In advance also, he threatened NATO. But he want to take over. He say he want to take over Greenland.
Well, he has actually tweeted that he is a firm defender of NATO and he stands by NATO and the United States will not leave NATO. So he says.
He said that, but he said he's gonna take Greenland. He wants Greenland.
Yes, he wants to buy Greenland.
Right. He said all things are on the table.
Yeah, man. So I'm saying he's now modified that to be well, his Secretary of State has modified that to say that they want to buy it.
No, it's Secretary of State, but the leading man in the White House, so everything's on the table, including force, and to attack and NATO country. That mess up everything. So I wonder. Does America really know the position that they are driving towards and where they're heading to? It is not the beginning of the end. Am I too overstating it?
Thank God for term limits, my brother.
Meaning, when you return tapping, there's no further for you to go down, you know.
Look, I'm telling you, listen to me, and thank God for term limits, you know, because the way things are going now, you know, it's really not a good look. And I've seen some people questioning whether or not Bruce Golding should have made the remarks he did. Actually, that's what we expect from elder statesmen as well, Ricardo and Faithful. We need elder statesmen like Bruce Golding to come out and speak out against these things. It's absolutely necessary.
No, to me, that's at least in the sense that Mr. Golding is not Prime Minister anymore. I would be more interested in what Mr. Andrew said, what Mr.
But you heard it from the experts that we had on earlier. They're saying, look, it is difficult for sitting heads of government, particularly those that are in the region, given the power dynamic that exists between the United States and CARICOM. Look, we're not on the same scale as they are. And it's something that we need to just accept. And with one executive order and some tariffs, he can basically decimate the economies of many countries in the region.
No, man, that's understood. Remember,
so which is why you won't see too many leaders hitting out.
Remember that England and France and Germany, they have very measured what they said. And if they have to measure what they said, they can't expect nobody. Like, look at Miss Markley, who was the most strident person in the Caribbean. Mom is the word for her. So we can't expect no more than that. That's why I did not worry too much about what Mr. Golding said. I would more worry. If what I said the Prime Minister said.
Faithful, I'm not so sure I support this diplomacy by timidity, or as one of our experts earlier said, it's a new kind of timidity. Look, because if you do not do anything, this person who is in the White House now will continue he will be emboldened, quite frankly. So saying nothing makes you a sitting duck, and saying something may make you into a target. So either way, something needs to be done. Now, what should happen is here's where CARICOM should really come through. Instead of having individual leaders raise their head above the parapet, the diplomatic parapet, and be singled out, CARICOM should speak with one voice. All the leaders in the region should speak with one voice. That's what's supposed to happen.
Yes, Mr. Speak with one voice, but speak say what? That's one. Two. And you and I have the privilege as to what you are saying now, because we don't have a country to run, we don't have people to protect. When they start to take away Jamaican visa now, now you can't say anything, but Andrew will have to face the consequence of everything.
Oh, but look, history will always be on the side of the brave, you know.
Yes,
there's no way
Tyrone.
we can sit down and worry about US visas being taken.
Yes, Tyrone. History will always on the side of the brave, but we have never have a person like that Trump in the White House. Mr. Trump building life and taking revenge, you know. So you and I can't say we can't do this and should do this. We have the privilege to say that now, and you don't have that privilege.
No, like I said, I think this is a moment for CARICOM, and it shouldn't be that individual leaders, given the power dynamic in the relationship.
I agree that you come together and say something.
Right. It has to be a group effort. And we have to respond by committee here.
And say and do what? Answer that question. Say and do what?
No, but the viewpoint has to be clear. We have to stand against this kind of activity in the region. The Caribbean must remain a zone of peace. And interestingly, Vance was asked that very question by a reporter at the media conference he had today. And basically his remarks were the actions of the U.S. government in relation to Venezuela will further the agenda of keeping the Caribbean a zone of peace. I'm not so certain I agree with that. Not certain I agree with that, but that was his position.
Two of the most bellicose president in this region, Brazilian president and the way the Colombian president was talking. You see, Mr. Reed, everybody have been measuring what they say because they've been afraid of what Trump might do. They cannot think like community, Mr. Reed. They have a country to run. Me have not to run. We can't say anything and say anything. I'll say what to feel like. But they have to think otherwise. That's the reality of the game. Hello?
Yeah. Well, we hear you, faithful. Thank you so much for the call. We appreciate it.
Papa Nana, good evening.
Hello?
Good evening.
Mr. Papa Nana, how are you, sir?
Mr. Reed, Mr. Friend, how you do?
We'll give thanks to the Ella. How are things with you? All the best for the new year, man.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Thank you, and likewise to Mama Nana.
Yes,
and yourself.
Thank you very much. I want to ask you a question. What are you? Can you regard if any of our citizens was taken out of the country by force by the American without a deportation order? Can you recall?
No, I've never heard of that.
None of them has ever taken out of the country without a deportation order.
I've never heard of that. I don't know if Tyrone has.
No, I can't say I have.
So you never heard of one that the Americans come here for, and when they go over there, they realize that there was not a deportation order. And what was the
Oh, yes, I did read about that. That was in the 90s? Yeah. But was that a politician though? I don't know. I remember the case. The gentleman's name is escaping me now, but he became president of the Court of Appeal, and there was some brouhaha. He was the Attorney General at the time. What was his name? Can't recall. But he was the Attorney General at the time, and then he became president of the Court of Appeal. He was appointed by Mr. Pattison, and there was some brouhaha as to whether he had exercised his legal judgment correctly. Exactly. And I recall that because of Mutty Perkins. I remember an interview Mutty Perkins had with Pattison, but I can't remember the name. Somebody could remind me in the chat. He was attorney.
Is it the storyteller Morrison case?
Exactly.
No, sorry. Storyteller Marcel is something different, altogether different.
No, it's not Wolf Beverly. What is his name? I can't recall his name.
I just want to find out from you. Also, what was the reaction of CARICOM? CARICOM was not at that time.
Sorry, what was it?
What was the reaction of CARICOM?
No, but I don't think that was a similar thing, because that wasn't a matter of the United States coming in here and forcefully taking him. The Jamaican government, as I understood the facts, sent him, but the appropriate steps had not been taken. But it wasn't a situation where the Americans...
And he won a legal case against them, right, Ricardo?
Right, that's my recollection.
Like the Storyteller Morrison case, actually.
Carl Rattray. Carl Rattray was the name of the
right.
It was the name of the legal officer. Yeah, he was attorney general.
No, it wasn't a legal person, but there was a Jamaican by the name of Storyteller Morrison who was extradited, and he came back, and I think he sued the government. I think my memory is hazy on it.
Yes, man. So we're agreeing with that part, Papa Nana. But what we're not agreeing with is that the Americans came in under covert night raids and took him out. That's not what happened. The Jamaican government was found to have breached his rights by sending him off without following the appropriate legal steps, which is a different thing, I think, from what happened with Maduro.
Okay. So, we didn't have anybody here that the American come from without a deportation order then?
No, you see, you keep saying without a deportation order. Deportation order from who?
From the government.
That's something I don't know. Because in the case that you referenced, my understanding of it was that the Jamaican government essentially deported him or sent him. Okay, it's not deportation because he's a citizen.
Right,
sent him to the United States illegally against the without following the legal steps. So it wasn't about deportation because you can't deport a Jamaican to another country.
Right.
Extradition, precisely. Extradition, right.
So extradition is what you want to say.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. You don't know of any.
No.
All right. I can't find you, but I'm asking you to do some research on it.
Well, tell us. You clearly have a case in mind. Which case are you thinking about?
No, I don't give somebody a chance. I'm asking you for the last. Please don't know how this is going to be Westwood. I cannot see any nationwide. Please.
All right. Okay. All right.
You people take care of yourself and do some research on me, please.
All right, Papa.
All right.
God bless you.
Right. Clearly, this wasn't the case. But do you recall the Storyteller Morrison case?
No.
Where he was extradited, and I think he came back and he sued the Jamaican government. He sued the state.
Oh no.
For being extradited to the U.S. in violation of his constitutional rights. Yeah. The Jamaican government, based on something I'm looking at now, because I did a quick check on it, accepted liability for wrongful extradition, I think is what this says. But it was a major case when I was a younger reporter, the Storyteller Morrison case. You can do some reading on it, Sir Ricardo. It was a major case in relation to extraditions.
Oh, okay. Who's next? We can take one more. Omalo, good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening, Sir Omalo.
Yeah, good evening, Tyrone. Yeah, Tyrone, Ricardo, yesterday I heard y'all speaking about the judge and his comment towards, I think, the minister and the permanent secretary. I think you asked the judge if he thinks it was appropriate to make such a comment.
What was appropriate, Omalo?
The judge making such a comment about the minister or the permanent secretary would work in the conditions of the court.
Yes, go ahead, yes.
You remember asking him that question, right?
Yes.
And when I hear you asking the question, Selena Ricardo, I'm saying that we're in a democracy. The Prime Minister boss and the Chief Justice boss is the Jamaican people. And if both of them having a problem, they must come to the Jamaican people. We don't want them talk it out behind a closed door. Come to the Jamaican people and tell the Jamaican people what is going on with the state of their court, so that we can make the decision. That is democracy.
What decision would you make?
The Chief Justice bring it to the people.
What decision would you make? And what decision would you make?
What decision would I make?
Yes.
In terms of?
Yeah, you said the Chief Justice should bring it to the people so the people can make a decision. What decision?
A decision as to how the conversation must be, is it best to give the justice a greater part of their capital budget?
And how would you make that decision?
How would we make this decision? By discussion within the general society and people that are better advised, are more studied in the era, would be best talking about it in the interest of the Jamaican people, and the Jamaican people then can make wise decisions.
And those people who would be best served to have that discussion are who?
People in the media, people in the academia, inside of the colleges and stuff like that.
All right, so I think you're misunderstanding what the problem was. The problem wasn't the call for the turning over of the capital budget to the judiciary. The Chief Justice has said that before. The problem was that he, as the head of the judiciary, was seen to be directly criticizing a politician in a way that judges do not usually do. That they do not usually get into the fray of how money is spent by the policy makers, what the policymakers are, the priorities the policymakers have identified. That's not something judicial officers usually do, let alone the Chief Justice. It was unusual.
Yeah, but you see, Ricardo, some of the times we have to give away with customs and just focus on law.
Oh, well, that's fine. That's fine. That's a different thing, though. Well, that's a different thing, though. So if it is that we're saying that we want our Chief Justice to be wading into political matters and to be taking a political position, that's a different thing. But
I would like to hear the Chief Justice come and give us the state of the court, the state of justice at the end of the year.
He does give a report. He produces a report. You can read it.
Yeah, and so he can, just as
again, that's a different thing from him wading into policy matters about policy choices of a government. That's a different thing.
Well, as long as he's not breaking the law, he's breaking customs, and the Jamaican people need to know what's going on inside their portals. And if there is no other way to bring the message to the Jamaican people, and the Chief Justice thinks that he is the one that's going to have to bring that message to the people, because people have to know what is going on, well, we don't mind where the message comes from. We know the people must address it.
Last question, because we have to go up on time. And how do you hold the Chief Justice accountable?
How do we hold the Chief Justice accountable? Well, it's not sending a very good mark.
No. Before you go to the very good mark, answer that question quick. We're almost out of time. Because if you want him to wade into those things, and there's an accountability, or any judge, right? There's an accountability part of it, So when he goes too far, how do you rein him in?
In terms of.
Let's say he comes
within the realms of the Constitution, just like the government.
But do you know how difficult it is to discipline a judge?
How hard it is to discipline a judge?
Extremely difficult.
So who make the laws of this country as to how judges are
and that is
to operate?
Precisely why the convention is that they stay within a particular bound, because they are so insulated, they are not expected. That is why they are so insulated. They are not expected to come into the fray. As the Court of Appeal told him, you should not descend into the arena. He was recently overturned by the Court of Appeal for doing just that very thing.
We want every
gentlemen, we have to leave it there. We are out of time.
You better be careful. You better be careful what you're hoping for.
You're gonna have to call back, Omar. We're out of time.
Court of Appeal said the Chief Justice descended into the arena in his conduct of a trial. And these customs exist for reasons, because they safeguard different things. Judges are very hard to hold accountable, Outside of their writings, there's not much you can do. So, Mala, better be careful. That's it. Sonia, thank you. Bugs, thank you. Tyrone, thank you.
Thanks to all of you. This has been Nationwide at 5. Have a good evening, everyone.
This season is the time.